Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and welcome to episode 202 of Defining Duke, a Xbox podcast. Today, I am joined by Sir Health is Wealth, Lord Cognito. How are you today, good sir?
Better. Good rest, finally, for a day. And then I talked to you before. Actually tried a little strategy. Gym before Duke.
Okay.
Kind of new, kind of liked it, well, you know.
Yeah, whenever I got a good workout in before Duke, I felt great entering the show, like, because you got good blood flow. That's the thing, right? Like when you're sitting like this for three and a half hours, like you just start to phase out. So you're doing the right thing. I got to get back into that swing of things because it was a huge difference maker. You're feeling good? Yeah,
I'm feeling good. It's tougher for me because I am a night owl most of the time, but the way my sleep schedule worked this week, I got up early. I'm like, damn, I miss so much of the day. I lose out on when I don't do this. Like, I got so much shit.
It's the most humbling thing, bro. When you're like day walking and you realize like this ain't too bad.
This ain't too bad. Get a day walker for a little bit. So yeah, I got stuff done, and then like I said, hit it. Came back and ready to rock it. We got a ton of news this week, obviously.
Yes.
How you been, man? I've been thinking about you, just like in general. How's Mr. Manny Plays getting back into the swing of things? How has things been going?
Well, we have a nice Health is Wealth segment for the opening of this show. We got some write-ins and we'll get into ourselves as we swing through this. So first one's from Black Magic Fuckery, the Bussy Butcher. I haven't heard from this gentleman in a while. But last time they wrote in, they spoke about something they were struggling with. They're back with some good news. Hey, boys, a quick Health is Wealth update for y'all. After my onset of autoimmune-related arthritis earlier in the year, I am glad to say that I am back gaming and playing guitar without pain. After some trial and error, cutting out sugar and taking turmeric proved to be the difference maker, despite the idea of dietary management receiving eye rolls from the doctors. Thank you for the sympathy and the kick in the ass. I was slipping into that mustard heart energy, and the Dukes rightly called it out. Have a Midnight Suns has great gameplay, but on God, what is this dialogue and why is Blade a simp now type beat?
What you mean? You don't like talking to Blade by the pool with your shirt off?
Yeah, come on now, big muscles and everything. It's such a COD game when you really think about it.
Such a big game. So ridiculous. Oh my goodness.
This is great to hear, though. I'm glad the good word of turmeric is spreading, right? This is my thing, man. This is the Maddie supplement. Everyone in my life knows I am a huge turmeric guy. Like, anytime my wife is having issues, anything, I'm like, want some turmeric? Like, it's almost annoying. Like, it's my version of, did you drink water today? Like, did you have your turmeric today? So I'm glad to hear you're doing better. Black Magic. Shout out to the power of turmeric. And, of course, cutting out sugar.
Cutting out sugar is huge. And then I like that you had the conversation because obviously as a fellow autoimmune arthritis sufferer, I respect this because sugar, also lowering sodium, and then, like I said, taking that is really cool. And also speaking to your doctor to allow that grace period to see if you make the corrections and then go back, see how your blood work, how you feeling. That's cool because I've had that on both sides where it's went well, and I had a side on the blood pressure there. It's like, it's still borderline. We need to work on it. You need to take this. And I'm like, all right, cool. But that's good having those conversations. Yeah, dope. Salute, Black Magic.
Absolutely good to hear. And we got one from Astro Parrot King. Hi, Dukes. Haven't had a Health is Wealth segment in a while, so I'll make an addition. I've lost 35 pounds since June of this year. How have you all been doing on the Health is Wealth front? Have a Xbox's handheld is years away, and that won't cut it type of day.
Salute the parrot.
What do we? I mean, he looked great when we saw him at the live show, right?
He looked good at the live show. I didn't even realize that because we did shout out the parrot. We did the Met game. Him and Mason look fine there. Like, so yeah, if he 35, wow.
Yeah, this is really good stuff here.
Super impressive. Feel lighter, healthy. Hit that scale. Those congrats to you on whatever you've been using as far to implement, whether it be diet or whether it been exercise. But that's good, man. Because at the end of the day, we got to be better. I've been doing as far as my update. Yeah, I've been doing better as far as my nutrition. And then I got to shout out my man Rand Outdoor recommended the air fryer. You know what I'm saying? And just now getting into a better pocket with the food, kind of thing. So that's been good. And then I've been making better choices. So I've been good. What about you? What's been your health as well update?
So for me, it's been a lot of mental health as well. We don't need to revisit it for the millionth time. It's just a matter of just taking that time to breathe. I can't lie that it's been up and down for me. There's been some days it's been good. There's been some days my anxiety is just fucking crazy. Today is one of those days, unfortunately. Just talking it out has been really helpful. I haven't had to deal with this in like 7 years. So it's been tough for me. Just kind of, there's part of mental health in accepting like, okay, I can't control what happened to me a couple of weeks ago. It just happened. And I can only control my response to it. And I need to just take a breath and go through this rather than being upset that it's happening again. Right. But it's one of those things where health is wealth is a little tough to come by. I'm kind of feeling burnt out, and I need to get to that kind of December break point as soon as I can to just really detach and settle down and just, recover. I needed it in the first place, but I was in a good spot. I felt I was handling things, but obviously I got just severely emotionally disrupted. And now I'm at a point where it's like, okay, I know come December, like I'm shooting for a month off because I'm usually not extreme like that. I normally give me 2 weeks. I'm good. Take a couple of vacations through the year. But I was like, I need an extensive sort of time away to just kind of get back into my groove, take some time to just focus on other things, focus on, exercising again. Like one of our goals this year was to get a kind of home gym going and started in our garage, and we were cleaning it out, and it's in a good spot now where it's time to start building that out, and so that might be like a December goal. So I've definitely been backseating the health as wealth a little bit, to be transparent. Just kind of like it's the time of the year, for those who don't know, where like as I'm getting going, we're recording videos in advance to kind of stack up for December and January when I'm gone, or we're doing the same for Duke while we're gone, that sort of thing. And that usually requires a little bit of extra man hours throughout the final months of the year.
More bandwidth.
Yeah, I try to plan it out. Like I had a reminder to start in like August, and then I was a dumbass and fucking procrastinated. And then I traveled a ton. Then I got married, and just everything kept happening where I was like, oh, get to it next week. And then I got to a decent amount, but like not as much as I would have liked to. So that lesson learned, I needed to be way more proactive. I made the mistake I usually never make, which is I don't procrastinate, but I fucked it with all these holiday videos. And so now I'm paying the price. The point being is usually these holiday things require the extra bandwidth. Like, okay, instead of stopping to work at like 5 or 6 in the evening, I'm probably working till like 8 or 9, and I'm going to lose out on free time I can spend with like my family or my wife, that sort of thing. So not a woe is me tale, but just, it's one of those things where just trying to, I'm crawling to the end of the year, man. Like I'm just crawling to the end of the year, just trying to just leg it out, hustle hard, and just, make sure I do my part and do a good job. And then from there, once I disconnect, just really like, sometimes I'm a little half-hearted about it, like, oh, I'll still keep like Discord notifications on, or check the email, check the YouTube number, see how things are going. No, none of it. None of it this year.
Bro. Mentally, it's important that you said that. How do you feel about vacations?
Vacations are really great. I actually embraced a few this year. I just think my second half of the year vacations are terrible. Like I just don't do them enough. So I do need to kind of indulge in that a little bit more, because I used to try to set it up. One thing I learned that I did better this year was like organizing briefer vacations. Like Laylee and I went to North Carolina for like 4 days, which is not like a full, like I'm out for 2 weeks, sayonara. Like it's just like in and out. Right. But I mean, that was key. Remember when I came back, like that's when all my swaying stopped. Like I really massively recovered in a big way. And so to me, that was the moment I was like, okay, I need more of these. And like, I took some more, like I take more days off. I'd sometimes get like a Friday off and just give myself the 3-day weekend, because I just knew my body needed it. So there's a little bit of better listening, but there's things I'm still blatantly ignoring, that lifestyle changes I need to make. And it's because I got a lot on my plate right now. And I'm at the cusp of a lot of big life changes and choices I have to make as I enter 2025. And so, with that in mind, it's like, I'm at the point of reassessment, and there's no reason for me to stop now. It's like, you got to leg it out this last month and just get looking at things from moving forward.
Definitely.
So that's where I'm at right now. But yeah, vacations are a huge part of it. And every year I say I'll take more. This year I did better than last year. Now next year I need to do better than this year. Not to the point where I'm like dull, but enough where I keep myself sharp, keep myself healthy, keep myself not as fatigued, that sort of thing.
Yes, that healthy mental health as well. Disconnect is vital. And I know what you mean. It sometimes it's like, you're in the eye of a storm and you just, there's nothing you could do to get out of it. You just know you got to power through. But I think keeping that light at the end of the tunnel, knowing, okay, when I get through this period, I have to do X, Y, and Z for my mental health, because I know where you at. I know exactly.
Yeah,
that's real.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I feel, it'll be okay. Like, I don't feel like, this is like when I first dealt with anxiety in a really bad way. I mean, it was like scary. This is more okay, I've done this before. I've got this. I just need to give my body time. Like, I know how to get through this. I need to just keep talking and really give myself that kind of breathing room. Yeah. I mean, in a sense, I'm glad it happened at this point, because if it was the middle of the year, I'm like, when's a good time to step away? But here is like where I'm usually set up to walk away for a little bit. And I think the difference is this year, I don't want to do like the full blown staycation. I want to do like a little going out more. Living life. Living life.
A lot of
worst thing you can do is sometimes just get stagnant, I think.
Exactly. A lot of it is get out the house.
Yep.
Just get out and be around friends and family, or just with your loved one, and do things that you've been putting off mentally for your health that make you too happy or make you happy. That's the best thing.
100%, dude. So thank you for asking, Astro Parrot King. Yeah, I've been slacking on physical. I can't lie. Weight is good. I actually just checked my weight today. I was very happy. I was like, okay, cool. Like, the current diet is doing me well, where I'm not gaining or losing. I'm just maintaining. I'm like, okay, good. I feel like I've been keeping that in check. So I'm feeling all right about that. I did go on a little jog the other day, so it's not like I'm doing jack shit, but I'm not, what I've been reflecting on is like my early 20s, I should say, where I was like, okay, how much, like, what was I felt really good at that point. And part of it was like, I mean, I had a lot less on my plate. That was a big part of it. But the other thing was like hobbies that surrounded it. And like part of my restructuring of my life is to give myself that opportunity. I used to do Taekwondo. I used to go to card shops and play games like every Wednesday for like 3 hours. And these were just two things that were so important to me, in confidence building and staying in shape. Because what I thought of, bro? I had to have that honest look in the mirror moment.
Let's go.
I was thinking to myself, I do exercise a lot and I do push myself and I do get that sweat on and I do get tired. But when I was going to like Taekwondo, there would be days like I would go really fucking hard and I'd be shot at night. I'd be like, man, I worked really hard. And so you earn that off day, right?
Yes.
Because your body, like, you feel the need to recover rather than the mental like checklist of this is recovery day.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I was like, when was the last time you felt like that? When was the last time you pushed yourself so hard that you were like, man, by the way, not work wise, exercise wise, that you were like, wow, my body's still recovering. It's like each day I could just keep going. Right. And I think it's because we all have that switch in our head. Like, I'm good at pushing myself, but like when it comes to working out, I'm good at pushing myself because you set like a regimen, what exercises you're going to do. And like, okay, I'm nearing the end, like time to push hard, or this is like set 3 where I increase the weight, time to push hard. But when you're like jogging or doing the Peloton, you have almost too much control over your own destiny. And going to things like the Taekwondo class, like you're at the Grandmaster's mercy, bro. If he sees you slacking, he's going to double down on you. So you try twice as hard. If you're paying attention to that, you try twice as hard as you go through it. And it was a beautiful thing. It was great for confidence. It was great for just building skills, of course. It was great for exercise. And that's the thing I want to get back to is like, I've always said, like, once my game gets funding and I can kind of stabilize the life a little bit more, I want to take up cooking classes. Like I just really like, that's a hobby I want to pick back up. But I want to get back into martial arts, man. Like that was the kind of passive thing. I was thinking that or dancing. I don't know why dancing was kind of speaking to me. I have no moves, no groove. I'm way too tall for that shit. But I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. I was talking to at the Dragon Age Veilguard preview event. I was talking to Norza, who's another YouTuber, and he does dancing. And I was like, oh, like that's it was interesting to hear about that. but also, like he said, it's like great exercise.
Oh, it's a tremendous cardio.
Yeah, and that's
tremendous.
Like that kind of, I call it passive cardio, where you're working out, but you're kind of doing a fun hobby while you're at it. And that's like what Taekwondo is, what was to me. That's what this could be. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to keep my options open on things I can do. So,
because actually you're mentally focusing on something else in the course of cardio, serious cardiovascular activity. So yeah, absolutely. You got to pick those things like that. That's actually a great idea.
Yeah. So that's where we're at health as well. Sorry, I dominated that segment. I have a lot on my mind. Naturally speaking.
It's your time. It's your time to talk. That's what's up.
All right, Cog. Well, that's our health as well segment. We got one more question from the audience, and then we'll get going with the news here. Big news week. But let's talk with the great Santini before we jump into all of that. What's up, Cougar Cog and game dev Maddie? Maddie's currently in development game has become somewhat of a meme in the realm of the Dukes, and I think it's hilarious. That said, a question has been lingering in my mind. Why the secrecy? The games industry has seemingly become more and more secretive as it has matured, often keeping projects' details under wraps until very late in the process. I believe this caginess is kind of whack and necessary, so I'm wondering why you, Maddie, feel the need to keep things so secretive as well. Unless I'm forgetting, I don't think we've gotten any idea as to what kind of game you are making. So what's the deal? Of course, I mean no shade by this, but I'm just curious. Thanks for all you guys do. Thank you for writing in. Yeah, it is a bit of a meme with the Dukes community, because let's like walk it back a little bit, right? Because the reason it became a meme is I would cite my game development experience as like information, like as part of my reporting. People were like, "What the fuck did you make, dude?" Like, what game did you make?
Dude talking, we ain't seen no work.
Exactly. And I was like, this is very fair. So I should probably stop talking about this and referencing it so often. But at a certain point, it just became moot, where I was like, well, it's baked in Duke lore now. Like, I can't just act like this isn't a thing. And as I do more game development stuff, I learn more. So I may as well just pass it on. Yeah. Why the secrecy is a great question. So I would probably be a lot more open about things right now. However, I could be more open about it because it's like literally just our company, our game. Like we're not working with anyone right now where we can make that decision if we really wanted to. But the reason I'm not is, as I've shown people in my close circle the game more and more, there's been a degree of, the reaction has been, damn, this looks way better than I actually expected. And I know part of that comes from like okay, your man's kind of making his own thing. All right, he's trying. And I get the energy, right? Like, okay, he's making a game. And you have this image of like some fucking phone game or some crap coming out. But as I show people, they're like, damn, okay. And like the reactions have been really good.
Nice.
And I think about that. I'm like, yeah, I would love to just tell people, like, here's the genre even. But I think part of the fun, it's game one, right? Maybe with game two and so on, I'll be a little more open. But game one, I'm like, the element of surprise is so important for us in that it's important for the announcement of the game, the reveal of the game. It's important for you all who have heard me talk about it for a while to kind of look, I put the pressure on myself and in turn, I guess my team. Like, we kind of have to back up the talk, and I'm not sitting here touting like, it's a fucking incredible game. You all are going to love it. Like, I've watched developers eat crow. I will let you all decide that. I am proud of what we've got so far, though. I am very proud of it. But that is kind of why my secrecy comes into play. I agree with you. The secrecy and the caginess of the games industry is whack. But you see how it kind of goes south. Like, Bethesda Game Studios tried to do that. They tried to be like, all right, we're doing the Marvel. Like, here's what we're making 6-7 years from now. Elder Scrolls 6. Look how upset people are.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So I think the caginess, as much as I don't like it, can be justified at times. What I don't like is the caginess with the process, which is what I try to be very open with. Like, here's how we make a thing. Here's how we did a thing. Music, art, programmatically, I am a little more lost on. So I would offer very little on that. But here, learning that side of the process, I think will enhance the games industry. And that's what I'm disappointed with some of the bigger developers, just not talking enough. And instead, it's a lot of I told you so energy. Like, someone says something stupid and then the quote tweet comes in like, that's what I'm talking about with you gamers. And I'm like, what if we were just more educational up front, which is what I try to do. But I get it's kind of half-hearted for people because they're like, dude, you could be making garbage for all I know. Maybe it is garbage to you. I don't know. But I definitely don't. I hope it won't be. But that's why I try to keep it caginess. I want even the genre to be a surprise. I think I was messing with, it might have actually been Astro Parrot King. Of like, I think I asked him at the event because we were talking about the game. I don't know why he's coming to mind, but I do remember asking someone like, well, what do you think it is? and then guessed it, and I just laughed.
I
was like, what do you think it is? And I was like, okay, interesting. It's fun. It's fun for me too. Like, it's fun to watch people kind of deduce, guess, because I frankly, I haven't earned any investment. Like, I haven't. I don't have anything to show. I don't have a pedigree. Right. When that's there, maybe then guess around, have fun, speculate. But it's really kind of cool to see people excited about it. So I want to make sure it's good for you too. So that's kind of where my head is at. But that's the deal, Great Santini. Hopefully it makes sense.
Salute to the Santini.
All right. Great write-ins this week. We appreciate all of you being here with us for this episode of Defining Duke. Let's get started with the news. Jean Dimaggio and Carlos Ferro are returning for Gears of War E-Day to voice Dom and Marcus. Cog, our thoughts on this massive news, albeit expected.
Yeah, man, expected, but you never know these days, right? You never know. You never know how relationships are. You never know what's going on, especially with Carlos Ferro, right? Obviously, the voice of Dom. And, it was so cool to see that image, to see them both together. Gears fans, we know what that means. And Dimaggio, he's a lot of good chops, obviously, as Marcus Phoenix. And also Destiny fans, I believe he was favorite character, the Spider in Destiny. This guy, that tone and that gruffness is so needed. I love this picture that they posted because they're like standing in front of, I think, like 2 trash cans. I'm just like, it's like a brick building, 2 trash cans, 2 windows. Like, it's very rough and tough, which I guess fits Gears. It fits it, man. And like I said, just seeing them together, working together again, because again, for John Dimaggio, he hasn't got a chance to work with Carlos in some time. Marcus hasn't got a chance to talk to Dom. So I just can't wait for those VRs. It's funny. The reason why it's so happy to me is because I'm a Transformers G1 nerd, right? And one thing is, for me, obviously the voice of Optimus Prime is iconic. Peter Cullen, Autobots, that. And then for me personally, I'm a Frank Welker dude. He's the voice of the original Megatron. You know what I'm saying? And that voice, so just to see, I've been watching a lot of Transformer cars with voice. I've been on this voice actor mode lately. And to see them kind of play off each other, tell us how the sessions were during G1, my beloved, Transformers cartoon. These guys have that chemistry, that undeniable talent. And I would imagine these two, for 4 Gears games or whatever, 3 Gears games they've done together, has to have been, fantastic. So I'm happy to see those guys get brought back.
Absolutely. So good news there. We have a lot of good news this week to open things up. This one was interesting. Did you see the Halo 2 E3 2003 demo is now available? It's Earth City, and it's been released as a mod on Steam for the game's 20-year anniversary. And I just thought this was spectacular to see. The YouTuber Hidden Xperia did a really cool kind of playthrough of it, but it was awesome to watch his playthrough because, like, I think how people look at me with Fallout and like my geeking out of like every little facet of it is how I think a lot of Halo fans look to him. And his authentic, like, childlike excitement for this demo was amazing to see. So I recommend people check out the video. It was really good. But this is like something baked into the deep Halo lore that I had completely missed on. I'm curious, did you see this demo? So what does this do for you as the, no offense, but the older Xbox fan of the two of us? You may have seen this in your time. So what does this do for you?
Feels. It just goes to show you, again, speaking to like, Peter Moore and speaking to people around that time and them having to put together something for the audience, right? And people forget about the days of the vertical slice and what you had to do. E3 was such a thing. You had to get something to show the people what you're working on. And a lot of times, some of this stuff wouldn't end up in the game, or some of it would be infamous as overly hyped and overmarketed.
Yeah, like parts you would literally like feel the E3 demo in certain parts of the game. I always think of Thief, right? Thief was like a colossal letdown, but there was one level. It was the E3 level, and it was like open and explorable. And it was like this vertical slice compared to the rest of the game that was just way fucking better. I always think of that with the vertical slice. Like, please continue. Sorry.
No, that's pretty much it. It just takes me back to, one, how important Halo is to me, what Halo 2 did. And I can only imagine I'm just thinking about the ray gun right now, because you know how much he loves Halo and the feels and what it did. And it just looks so good. And to see his experience, childlike reaction, in real time while watching it was awesome. So yeah, Halo is iconic. This is iconic. Don't quote me. I think State helped work on this. So I feel like a State connection. I remember, him or members of that team, if it wasn't him, really busting it to get this thing out and to make such an impression that blew people away. these are the things you live for, and the part of game development that doesn't get enough credit to help get to the finish line and get these products that we all love. So, I love stuff like
Halo
this.
2 famously had a really short, awful development cycle, and people wonder what it would have been like if it got an extra year or two into 2005, 2006. You'll even see things in this demo. People should check it out. Like, it's really cool. For example, dual wielding was like not a feature. It was the way if you had SMGs, you would have two at once. Like, that's how it went. There's so many artistic differences. New Mombasa looks totally different. The shields on the jackals, I think was the alien type, they look different. There was a lot of different looking things that they have that people forget about with Halo that are now here in this mod, and it's playable. It's a quick 15-minute thing. Don't want to oversell it, but really cool piece of history there.
Absolutely.
For Halo 2. So go ahead and check that out if you missed it.
Check it out.
Bigger surprise though is here. Death Stranding is now available on Xbox, and Kojima Productions has confirmed that they now fully own the rights to the Death Stranding IP. David Markham writes in, "Howdy, gents. We were surprised with a shadow drop release in Death Stranding. So, will we see Death Stranding 2 come to the platform within a year since Kojima owns the IP now, or even a same date release for both consoles? All the best. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this." I think because it was in development for PlayStation for a while, I think it's going to be a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a long time, but I view it kind of like what happened with Xbox is really late with Genshin Impact. They're getting that, I think, in a week from now as we record this. But then something like Zenless Zone Zero, Xbox is getting apparently like December. So there was a smaller gap, right? But they were still a little bit behind. And I'm viewing that kind of here with Kojima Productions. Like, yes, we get Death Stranding 1 4 or 5 years late, but Death Stranding 2 might be like half a year, maybe a year. I'm going to go with half a year just based on how Xbox has kind of worked these things in the past. So I think you'll see it. It'll definitely just not be at launch would be my guess. What would you say with this though? Yeah,
this one broke right the day after. This is like a Curse of the Dukes one. You just missed this one, right?
I'm glad that we missed it though, because I will spoil this for our audience who doesn't skip ahead with timestamps. I am playing Death Stranding. Ooh. I finally have fired it up, ladies and gentlemen. I want comment boys on their knees thanking me for my services. All right, because I have words for you all. So please stay tuned. Kyle, continue.
I can't wait. We get to S things gonna be sick. All right. So this was a complete surprise to me. You know, from everything we knew, PlayStation owned the IP, right? So we're like, okay, PlayStation owned the IP. How is this happening? And then if you saw the news release, he's popping off like, can't wait, the Xbox fans you've been asking. We can't wait to deliver this to you. And I just started thinking about, like, then the news broke. I think Jez also had an article on it. And we find out that he gets the rights to the IP, right? The Death Stranding IP. So this is how I look at it. What is very coincidental, not coincidental to me, the day this announcement was made was 5 years to the date of when the IP was announced for PlayStation as exclusive. So to me, it feels like contractually something's up. Then there's probably maybe a renegotiation period, and then he gets the right back. So two things I get from that. One, he is shedding, this is how I internalize, you kind of shedding your mercenary tag a bit in terms of, hey, I'm going to just work with this company and give them exclusive, work with this company, give them exclusive. Because to me, this sends that this needs to go more places, right? Xbox, PC. And then it was so weird because remember, Death Stranding, Microsoft did a loophole with 505 to get it on the original Death Stranding on PC, which to me showed me that PlayStation didn't necessarily do their homework contractually with locking down the PlayStation. Now, for moving on, you notice that PlayStation will put in their contract, you know, where it's going to be. But that, I think that's how they was able to finagle it, and that's it. But what this tells me is he wants it everywhere. Two, Death Stranding 2 is coming. What a great marketing tool, right? To get people in the base and learn about the IP. We know Switch 2 is coming. We know Switch 2 has the performance, at least, of a PlayStation 4 and Xbox. I think he would want it there. And I think about the transmedia push a lot of these companies are pushing. Remember, people don't realize he's coming out with like a show for Death Stranding. He's coming out. He's going into his movies and TV.
Sense. That makes
sense. So you want
sense,
this, right? So I agree with you. I think, look, it's only a matter of time. Death Stranding 2. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, it's definitely multi-platform release. I'm not going to go there, but because obviously PlayStation is promoting it. But I will agree with you. The window of exclusivity will be shorter.
Yeah.
And I do feel whether it be 6 months, a year, it will come to Xbox platform. So this is a big deal. The last thing I'll just say is that I think we could safely say we see a trend in terms of the mercenary mentality with the money hatting with companies, right? Where it's like, look, before we would take that bag, you've got the install base, it makes sense, you're the popular brand as PlayStation. Now we're starting to see the Square Enixes, the Pearl Abyss,
Capcom,
yep. SEGA, Atlas, right? We got enough examples now.
Yeah, it's not just a one-off anymore. It's a very good point.
The exclusive money hat bag doesn't have the appeal when they're trying to get more users on this and they're doing well. Sega's like, yeah, we love it going there, and we have a potential Game Pass bag with certain things. But even if there's no Game Pass involved, just getting it out on the PC market, the Xbox market, and potentially Nintendo's new system is way more financially beneficial than just to lock it down. And I think we're seeing more companies adopt this strategy. So that's how I look at it. I was very surprised by this because we know the relationship, we know the history. And I just think that it makes sense for him to get that Death Stranding IP to more places. So yeah, very surprised. The only negative to all this news is it is Play Anywhere, which is great. That's dope. And it was only $20. That was dope. Yeah. $20. You're selling this thing.
That's good. Yeah.
But the only negative for me is I had Death Stranding when they had the loophole on PC only, and I had mad progress. So I'm like, yeah, it's going to be Play Anywhere. And I'm like, why am I starting from the beginning? And then I realized this is the director's cut.
Yeah.
So it's a different SKU. Yeah. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to start over. But at least it's on both Xbox and because the first one was
did you get? Did you? I
would say about 5-6 hours in.
Okay, all right.
So I wasn't mad for. I just didn't want to do it over.
I played like 3 hours, and the first 2 were like all cutscenes. So if you remembered all of that, you just skip all of that, bro. You'll be caught up to where you were at in no time.
True. No doubt. I can't wait to talk to you about that. But that's pretty much.
I'm excited to talk about it too. Mm-hmm. All right. Next up here, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle got a gameplay deep dive released on the Xbox YouTube channel, Bethesda YouTube channel. And dude, I want to talk to you about this one, man. It looks fucking awesome. Like I will say this, and I know some people aren't surprised by it, but I was starting to have a little bit of doubt because of how they were handling the marketing. Number one, I kind of felt the early PlayStation announcement smelled a little bit desperate. Like pre-order numbers are down. We are getting ahead of this. Come get our game. Come talk about our game. Right. But on the terms of like showing it, right, I was already critical about, okay, after the developer direct, we're going to see this again sometime. I want to see how this is moment to moment. Famously so, they just haven't done that. Then they had that preview event. I was invited to this preview event, but I was unable to attend it because I was reviewing a bunch of other things, and it was supposed to be in New York City. They canceled that one, so they were like, hey, come fly out to San Francisco. I was like, I fucking hate going to California. I'm good. So I'm not going to do that after flying to Cali for like 2 different trips in the last month.
Yeah, you've been there a lot.
Yeah, so yeah, to be clear, it's not me just being privileged. Like I've traveled a lot. I was tired. I was like, I'm going to skip out on this one and just take the L. And so what I learned after people went, played, the embargo lifted, is that they were not allowed to capture their own gameplay. They were provided B-roll. And that is not, it's not the end of the world. You know, hands-on is better than no hands-on, which Bethesda did before that, right? Before that, Cog, you and I were part of the one where they're like, hands-off, digital presentation, watch this, here's a Q&A, and go report on the little cool things you heard. And I just feel like you're playing into the marketing of the game at that point, but like the information's valuable, so you may as well just at least tell your audience about it. But I was a little worried when they were kind of being cagey with the gameplay because I'm like, this looks really good. Like I have no reason quality-wise to doubt this, but their actions are suggesting there's something to hide. But then they do this and they give us a little more of a deeper glimpse, the moment to moment, the exploration, the scope of the game, the journal updating, the adventure books and the skills that you're going to get. The immersive sim vibes as you interact with objects around you and beat people over the head with them and hide bodies. Oh, man. I am so fucking on board, bro. So on board. So excited. I mean, I thought Indiana Jones looked really great, but I did not expect it to have immersive sim qualities quite like this. You'll put on a disguise, go in there and stealth around. I was like, dude, come on now. This is beautiful. I'm loving what I'm seeing. The music, wonderful. I mean, I'm in, dude. I was already in, but I am so in. It looks great. What did you think of what you saw?
Gotta stay consistent. Cog has never wavered on this. I betrayed all of Xbox's IP the minute I saw Indy. I said, oh, that's their game of the year. That's the one. I told people, I was like, now I get the criticisms were fair. Like, I think you and Ibanez had the same mindset. They're like, oh, I can look good, but what's up with why they keep cutting? Why they keep switching? And that was fair.
Scare me, bro.
I know y'all I was like, okay, they just try to show different gameplay aspects, but I get it for the person that's like, ooh, maybe y'all hiding, y'all not showing me that moment to moment. Just play the game, right? Fair. Oh, y'all want to see the game?
Yeah.
Machine Game said, okay, we're gonna show you it. And to me, I didn't need to be convinced, but in fairness to your group, yes, y'all needed to know a seamless few minutes of not cutting and just playing.
It can snap. Like it did snap a lot in this, but just a little bit of like, show me walking into a zone and what that's like. And then they did that. They're like, here's you on a boat. And then he's like going off the track and he's like, I'm going to go explore this little temple over here and do a puzzle. I was like, perfect. That's all I wanted to know. I just want to know was me as the player. What am I going to experience?
What the only convincing I needed was moment to moment whip combat. That was so when he did the lashing and Money said, ow. then you got to get busy with that. See, I'm about busy with the hands.
Yeah.
Then you hitting people upside the head, something crazy in this. You pounding people out. I ain't going for. I'm gonna get clipped on that. I know.
Yeah. I was gonna let you have that.
It's going there. The pounding out. In Indiana Jones, the Great Circle is lit. So you got that aspect. And then I just felt like the many ways to approach something, right, was very cool. I like the adventure points where they had that ability. If you get slumped, you get knocked out. Indy's hat is there. They got the hat thing. It almost reminds me of a second wind Call of Duty kind of perk. Yeah. And then you're like, all right, cool, let's go. I just think it just feels like that kind of blockbuster game of the summer kind of a deal, even though it's coming out in December. But, I told people all the time, I love what I've seen from this game so much. My only gripe was because of the release date, it won't make, well, maybe because now it's going to PlayStation and PlayStation gets its spring, that gives it the second boost it needs to be, acknowledged in a Game Awards kind of, because it looks phenomenal, man. It really does. I liked everything. I'm almost to the point I just feel I've already been convinced. So I was in a point of like overexposure. I feel like I showing too much, but I understand the moment to moment. But everything I saw, I know people, the controversy, first person. I like
Bro, they made the right call with first person. This gameplay, I don't know how you look at that. If you don't like first person, respect that for sure.
Yes.
But if you look at that gameplay and go, they made a bad call doing this based on the mechanics they had in the game, like the stuff you see in the environment, and you pick up and you put down and you throw and you whip and the cutscenes are in third person. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't agree with people's takes that like that was the bad choice. I'm like, it played to their sensibilities as a developer. And it looks like it's making the game unique. Like how many third person over the shoulder superhero style games, IP tie-in games have we seen? It's like,
thank you.
It's cool. I like it.
I'm the hashtag just one over the shoulder dude as much as anyone else, but it's just like, this looks so unique and so cool. And you can't say another game is doing it. And they're still giving you enough visual cues of full indie doing things in the mix with swinging from rope to rope over something. I like what you said about the espionage. When he was like, they had the Germans and they were like, go get me the bottle. And then you went to the bag, got the thing. He was
bangs the table. He's like, I said, get me the bottle. I was like, in my head, I'm like, I know this game well enough just by how the mechanics work that I can hit this motherfucker over the head with the bottle and just knock everyone in this room out. And that's the beauty of it, bro. That's the beauty of it.
And I love, the last thing I'll say, puzzle mechanics in this style of a game seem really cool, very interactive. You put your hand in it. The scorpion's running up your neck. You put the water in the thing. I just think it's a different level of interactivity that I'm not used to seeing, and it makes the puzzles more realistic and lifelike to me. And I like that they're leaning into that. You got your puzzle, you got your stealth, you got your action, you got your adventure, and classic indie. So I'm ready. I was already convinced. This even more put me over the top, and it looks like Machine Games may have something here. Now it's just the execution. Yeah,
it reminded me of Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yes,
that game, I think it was Eidos, but it had a mixture of linearity and like exploration that would be like to the side, and you'd have these very unique puzzles. I liked the game a lot. I thought it was pretty solid. It got like middling reviews from what I remember, but I enjoyed it. But it just reminded me a lot of that game, and so I'm excited for sure. Especially the way you have visible progression with the journal.
Oh, so cool!
Looks really good.
Love what's going on.
Well, we talked about Indiana Jones gameplay, and before that were previews and how those weren't that great. And so here we have South of Midnight previews, which have gone out. They were hands off. It was just a theater presentation that I think specific people in the area just got to go and check out. I know Kind of Funny's Paris Lily got to see it. I saw IGN got to see it. I didn't see like many others crop up, but I admittedly didn't search hard for it just based on my sub box and who I am subscribed to. They also posted a 30-minute documentary. I admittedly have yet to watch this part, but I did watch the previews. And so I'm curious if you've caught these previews, Kagi, if you have any thoughts on what South of Midnight is showing to these people who got to see the game early.
Yeah, I didn't see. You saw probably the previews, and I didn't see it. I saw the documentary, which you didn't
cool.
see.
So we'll bounce off each other.
So the documentary was kind of going through the creative director and the process, right, of them deciding on South of Midnight, and then showing the background, and again going deep into Southern lore and what I could call Southern fiction. And basically having the creative liberties to expound upon that. And I thought that was cool, and just about learning and bringing people together. The character of Hazel and seeing the actual model actress, I guess, and the voice actress was just really cool to see. The game looks so much more better than it was before. I did find out that they did take some feedback for the guys like me, who my only issue was with it was like, it has a very stop motion kind of a thing. And a lot of people loved it. At first, I remember being in the theater. It was like, yo, what's going on with your frames? I didn't know what was happening. So I thought it was a technical issue at first. Yeah. So I have come to find out that you can actually eliminate that feature. You can, you can turn that off. So I thought that was cool. But as far as like them researching and them getting the information, I thought was really cool. This is stories that you really don't get a lot. You know, you don't really get what I consider like that Southern Bayou, you know, culture. Like I've been in New Orleans.
How do you feel? If this is too personal of a question, obviously, please. Like, how do you feel they're doing with the culture and like representation? Like, how do you feel about what they're doing on that front?
So far, very good. Obviously, I haven't played it, so I got to see what's going on. But for how
are they talking about it, I guess is the question. Right? Some people can sniff out the bullshit, right?
Right. The way they're talking right now, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the way she's talking, the way Hazel's talking. I'm feeling a very, this is going to sound really messed up, but a very South New Orleans kind of po' boy feel. I've been to New Orleans one time, and it's a culture in the way people talk, and it's a culture in, what's the word, like mysticism and fiction. That's a very big, it's a word that's on the tip of the tongue. Like, you know, when people like hexes and it's kind of, it's kind of a thing. Like it's a Southern thing. Yeah. And I am getting that energy. So in that sense, it feels so far authentic. But in fairness, I need, to play and see how they execute, right? You know what I'm saying? Before I give it the official stamp. But the feeling so far is good. And I'm really excited. You know, the Hazel character seems cool so far, right? And I like, it's about learning everything in these creatures in that environment, and then kind of like trying to apply that into whatever the storyline. I want to see where they go with it. But early impressions are good, and ultimately all I care about right now, does the gameplay look good? Does it look like something I'm being interested in? And that part looks good and seems like they're on the right track. So we'll see. But I'm curious, how did the previews, what are people saying? Yeah. What's the energy? Like for the people who play, I mean, well, they didn't play, but they saw it, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, it looked like right now the thing that's speaking to everyone the most is the storytelling presentation through stop motion, of course. The music, which you can hear in any of like the documentary or the previews and stuff, is amazing. Like really, really good stuff. But it really is that charm in animation and music to kind of aid the storytelling and the character work that's there that they got to briefly see. On the gameplay front, from what I watched, it seems like people are kind of thinking it's more by the numbers 3D action game. Like you can dodge, you can double jump, you can parry, you can air dash to platforms. Like it's 3D platform in a lot of ways, but I'm very excited about that. Like I watched Travis Northup's preview, and like I love Ty Guy Travis. Yeah, we love Ty Guy Travis, right?
Damn, you got the info. I should have hollered at Trav. I didn't even realize Trav.
He at least narrated. I'm pretty sure he was. He was speaking from the first person perspective. So I think it was him. That was definitely Trav. But yeah, I just thought that the way that they were handling the art seemed to speak to a lot of people. But the gameplay and what they were saying for that excited me, because to me, OG Xbox, right? Like I'm talking first generation Xbox, like there were some really underrated, goofy 3D platformers like Voodoo Vince, Blink's the Time Sweeper I famously talk about all the time. Like there were really weird ones that Xbox did to try to get out there and compete with what PlayStation and of course what Nintendo was doing. And especially Voodoo Vince is like, funny enough, kind of reminiscent, like it was Deep South vibe, like the music was kind of inspired by
that was the word.
Yeah,
that was the word that was escaping me. Literally was voodoo. Thank you.
That's so funny.
Yes.
Yeah, but it and so when there was like, yeah, it's kind of a simple 3D platform, I'm like, awesome. That's, to me, that's such a big part of why I fell in love with Xbox. That's why I loved Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2 is also a, if you will, by the numbers 3D platformer in its gameplay, but it's so effective because of the world around you and how the art conveys its themes. So I'm excited by just it being this, I don't know, I think Simple's doing it a disservice. If it's mechanically sound, which they didn't play it, so we don't know, but if it's mechanically sound, it feels good and it works, awesome. And I definitely, from the previews I saw with the boss fight and the music and the presentation, I've been a defender of Compulsion's games before, but this looks like leagues above what they've tried to do before. You know, like you can see the budget comparatively speaking, yes. Which is good. So yeah, I was impressed, man. Like it sounds, it's hands off, so I'm not going to get carried away, but it sounds like what I was hoping for. And it does feel, even if it's unintentional, it feels like a callback to OG Xbox in some ways. And that has me really excited.
Yeah, and I'm just excited. I believe that Adrian Ray is the voice and mocap actress. I'm just excited, to see where they go with it. And it just seems unique. Mm-hmm. And again, the initial impressions are good. Now we just got to get our hands on it, make sure it feels good, with the execution. But so far, so good. And I like that they're outside ready to show. I thought that was, a little confident right there because they're, it's next year. So pretty cool.
Right on. Well, Cog, there's more in the world of Xbox. Like I said, really just jam-packed week. Lots to talk about.
Shotgun blast. End of the year. Shotgun blast.
I'll take it. It's a fun show here. Yeah. Stalker 2 has gone gold and it's up for preloading now. It'll require 147.6 gigabytes of space to install. So get that COD campaign out of there and get some Stalker 2 in your hard drive. Aramo Loner writes in, hey Dukes, Stalker 2 is just around the corner now with developer GSC Game World announcing the game has reached gold last Friday. Preloads on Xbox on Monday and extended system requirements on PC today, Tuesday. These come a month after the extremely positive previews. Pardon me. So now I ask, what are your current expectations with this game? Are they any different, from before we got any of these news? And will any of you try any of the previous Trilogy games before this in just a week before it comes out? Thanks for reading. Have a good day, you two. Thank you, Ramo, for writing in. Cog, how are we feeling? Stalker 2 finally happening, right? This has been understandably a long time coming, but it's finally happening. Gut check before release. We playing it day one?
Yeah, it's very strong, very strong. It's a lot on my plate, but game-wise that we've been playing, we've been talking. Yeah, same. But I got it because this one keeps, I already was interested in it, but this one keeps rising through the ranks. And apologies, Run with the Dukes, because I've been seeing some writers like, yo, when y'all going to talk about Stalker?
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. It's fair. It's slipped for me too. I can't lie.
It's been so much, but in fairness to, Xbox, they've got a lot going on now. It's like, this is that, again, it's Maddie infamously always calls it the Shotgun Blast series, but this is one of the most amazing Shotgun Blasts because it's just been so many quality, great games to talk about all coming out through this one period, right? Mm-hmm. But Stalker 2, look, I ain't gonna lie. My first hurdle was the technical. Seem to have cleared that. Then I've been watching previews. And I think shout out to you. One that really put it over me was like Destin Legary's. I believe he had from oh my God, like the way he was approaching different scenarios in Stalker.
Yeah, I remember watching that. Yeah.
Oh, it was really impressive to me and just the possibilities. And I ain't gonna lie, like I don't know who said it. It was him or someone else was like, they were hoping they were getting this from Shattered Space that as far as from gameplay and mechanics and just the possibilities. They were hoping that they were going to get that there, and they ended up being more than impressed with Stalker, is their variation of it. So, look, this seems hardcore. I'm curious of you because you're the Fallout guy, and I'm just sensing like hardcore elements here, and I'm really impressed. So, yeah, Stalker 2 is definitely going to get plays. Definitely going to have my attention. It will not be a miss. I'm trying to get through a couple of games before that, and I'll tell you my disappointment with one that I thought I would be through with.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm not. So it's keeping me longer, which is preventing me from doing something else that I need to do, which then leads me into Stalker. So those are the things. I'll tell you when it gets to what games I'm playing. But yeah, no, definitely Stalker 2, man. Very excited. Super pumped. This looks like two people even said it. I think we'll talk about Phil and some other. A lot of people are talking. I think Jazz was another one. Talking some Goldie energy as well, too.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I mean, obviously, as a huge Fallout fan, I've had this series recommended to me for a long while, and I never really gave it a shot because I didn't have the hunger to check it out, and I know very little about it. But once Stalker 2 is announced, that's where I saw it was Game Pass. I was like, okay, I'll get to it. It got delayed so many times. Then they do the trilogy, and they bring those to modern platforms, and I'm like, okay, now do I play all of these? Before I just knew it wasn't realistic for me to like, it's optimistic thinking for me to think I can bang out a whole trilogy of games when I'm already like trying to beat other games for review and beat other games that are just coming out this year. So I was like, okay, I'm doing a little optimistic thinking. I'm going to choose to work it backwards. Like, let's start with Stalker 2, see what this game offers me. And if I love it, I got plenty more to dive into. But as a Fallout fan, like, especially in the lead up to Fallout 4, so many fans of that franchise were like, please try it. Please try it. You will love this. Like, if you love Fallout, you will love this. And they were like insisting, like, hey, it's very different from Fallout, but the vibe, the exploration, the kind of flow that this game series provides is very Bethesda Game Studios reminiscent, and you personally would adore it. So I feel like this could be one that really sneaks up on me because I mean, look, dude, we run an Xbox show and it kind of slipped my radar that way. And at this point, I've just seen whatever they've shown publicly. I've watched one preview of the Destin one you talked about.
Yes.
But otherwise, I've just kind of been like, because it's been delayed so many times and understandably so, it's like, I feel like in my head, I'm pressuring them if I'm just like, you know, okay, like, where is it? This looks so good. It's like, yeah, there's a war going on. They're trying to make a game at the same time. Like I would just play it when it's out. And now it's coming out next week. So I'm excited to check it out, see what's going on there. But yeah, having extremely positive previews and stuff. I have to say this just for the sake of conversation it's a developer in a tough spot. And there is typically curving when that happens. I mean,
good point. That's fair.
Let's be fair. I think the same thing kind of happened with Dragon Age. And that's not because I gave it a scathing review, but I think those scores were a little high. If the studio was not in a existential position, I think those scores may have been a little bit more tame. And I think some of the verbiage surrounding them may have been tame. Now that people can't like it, but I don't think BioWare is back 10 out of 10 is exactly indicative of what they delivered there, personally speaking.
Fair.
You know, but so I will just say that the extremely positive previews are like, it's on Game Pass. I'll play and decide for myself. I encourage the audience to do the same thing. Play and I mean, granted with the file size.
You ready for that 147, bro?
Yeah, maybe not, but if you don't have good internet. But point being is, when I saw those, I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad people are liking it. But I also understand that this is a studio in a tough position. This game is like extremely important to them. So it's going to hit hard. It's going to be heavy hitting, man. And it's going to be one of those things where kind of like with Dragon Age, it's going to be a test for a lot of reviewers. Like, can you be fair and assess things? You're muted right now. No, you're still muted.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, I know what you meant. Like, I did interrupt because I was muted. But I'm sorry to interrupt in the sense that I know what you mean. Can you be objective with the state of the studio if there are flaws with the game, right? And even though we understand, but we understand in fairness. I know where you're going. Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be great. It looks great. There's no real reason for me to doubt it. They've had a ton of time with it. Xbox has been really patient with them and supported them in any way they can, which I think is great to have in a partner. So yeah, there's a lot here where I'm not discouraged, but it's just, you know, for me, the previews didn't do that level of like, oh my God, let's go. It's, you know,
I think for me, the reason why I'm a little optimistic, because you made a fantastic point, and that is most people are scared to say what you just said. That's why I love doing Duke with you. The thing is, where I got optimistic was Digital Foundry. Because remember, Maddie, I'm going to keep it real with you, because when I previewed this game, I was like, man, they gotta get the technical part together on one thing. Because I was like, the game got a lot of potential. But I was like, man, he got some bugs and some things. And I'm like, ooh, in the frame, I'm like, ooh, right. And that was PC. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, we'll see. And again, I'm the type, don't tell you what you want to hear, what you need to hear. Because when the preview's over, I'm gonna pull you to the side as a dev and be like, all right, here's the things I wrote down. I did this with Replace and I did this for Stalker. I said, hey guys, this is what you got to, you know what I'm saying? And they were like, nope, we're glad you said that. One developer kept it real, was like, hey, we were not ready to show just yet. Glad you said that. We've taken that to the team. This developer was like, no, fair enough. We are aware of that. Cool. But again, my thing is, damn, but you're coming out. In Stalker's case, you're coming out this year. How much time is it really? So I was a little concerned, I'm be honest, but I would keep that wraps until it was time for release to see what happened. Where they started to win me over was Gamescom. When Digital Foundry got a hold of it and was screaming, the technical was, they were raving. So I was like, oh, they've made a level up between that time and they came through. So that part, now still doesn't excuse if the game is good or not. And we still got to play the game and see if that's good. But the technical part, which I was really worried about, they have exceeded the bar of where I was worried. And I was like, okay. And then I heard 60. I'm like, you know, hearing 60 on console these days, you can tell it's a thing as we've learned. Yes. So, you know, we're going to keep it real with that. So that's why I'm a little hopeful, because if they're able to do that much of a technical jump in that short of a time, now let's see if they can execute on a game that so far the previews are very promising. So, but good point on the call out on a curve based on our empathy for what a studio is going through in a real life situation.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, we're very lucky to do what we do for a living, but it's been the toughest part of the job for me this year, is like knowing companies are in shit spots like BioWare and how much I love BioWare, and knowing like, I know this video is going to do well. Am I writing a fucking death sentence right now? And it's like, I gotta be real. Like I can't live myself if I gotta lie. Like, it's just how I've been raised. And, you know, and so I get it though. It's not fun at all. Yeah, so I'm pulling for them. I think it looks great. I think it's going to be great. I'll be shocked if it comes out to like middling reviews, but well, time will tell. We'll find out next week because we'll be sitting here talking about it after playing it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's talk about my franchise, Fallout. Phil Spencer had some words on the future of Fallout games. As reported by Inverse, this comes from IGN, Microsoft Gaming chief Phil Spencer touched on this issue while speaking at New York's annual Palais International Summit. Phil Spencer's just everywhere, bro. Like, he's just everywhere, man. This guy's got to have a teleporter.
Phil is outside.
But then again, there were some people, I don't mean to talk about someone's physical appearance, but I was a little worried at the image that Bloomberg used for Phil. Like, a lot of people were looking at kind of where Phil, like what he looked like when he first started physically. Yeah. He's lost weight. He looks great in that regard, but just he looks tired and like the job has aged him. I feel bad, man. It sucks.
Yeah. I will say this. I do agree that he looked like a little sleep.
I think it was a bad image though.
Right. The image was a little wild, but I will say to your point, when I saw the image of him, was it about a year ago? And being that we on our health as well, I was like, the face was full, and I'm like, ooh, he's not taking care of himself a little bit. Maybe going through a bad eating or diet, because I could see the difference. Yeah. But now at least I'm more happy with this, because it seems like he's done a better job on weight and whatever he got to do. Yeah. Because that's more important. Now we just got to work on the sleep.
Good on Phil. He's probably listening. Health is wealth.
Health is wealth, Phil. See, listen,
proud of him. While Spencer acknowledged the lack of a new Fallout game, he did insist everyone involved ended up benefiting from it. Quote, "We didn't have a new game lined up for launch," Spencer said. "I actually think that gave us some creative liberty that we wouldn't have had if we tried to coordinate production of two very different creative processes to land at the same time," end quote. That mention of creative liberty is a reference to the Fallout TV show's canon status and the fact that it takes place after all of the existing Fallout games. While this has meant that Fallout lore fans have analyzed the show to within an inch of its life, it's a really good way of wording it. Its creators were able to move on from what's gone on before and tell a brand new story. If a new post-Fallout 4 video game had come out at the same time, Bethesda and TV showrunners would have faced a tricky job ensuring that their Fallout timeline ducks were in a row. Of course, a brand new Fallout game is coming out. Todd Howard obviously confirmed that. But for Microsoft's part, it's comfortable missing out on the TV show-fueled sales of a new Fallout game. Quote, "The play is much more long-term than trying to drive some gift buying," end quote, Spencer said. Quote, "For other Fallout games in the future, obviously I can't talk about those now, but I would say sort of rushing through them, or we kind of need to get stuff out that is different than the work we're doing in 76. We don't feel we need to rush any of that," he said. "The Fallout TV show fills a certain niche in the terms of the franchise and storytelling," end quote. I hate it because he's kind of right. Like, I'm in acceptance phase now, everyone. All right. That's where Maddie's at. Let's talk to it. I hate it because he's right. The reality is with this is, I mean, Fallout's bigger than ever, and there isn't a game out. Let's be real. Like,
True.
the show came out, it put the brand completely on the map on a level we thought Fallout 4 was the peak. Like, ESPN was covering it because they had the Fenway Park in there as Diamond City. Like, people were like, oh my God, this is it. Like, Fallout's a big breakout. Nope, this was actually it this year, and there was no game involved. The games around it benefited, but there was no game involved. So there's a truth to it that I have to accept, and that, yeah, man, like, Fallout it needs a new game, no doubt. But you look at this show and its success and you go, it can come whenever. Like, I'm in their position, they're comfortable. It's like, oh, our game sold more, everything around it did better, and we didn't have to coordinate anything, and we can take our time and make it good. All right. And especially, they're already filming season 2. I'm sure by next year we'll see season 2 of Fallout.
Yeah.
You know, so they already said, like, they were writing season 2 already, like, as season 1 was launching. So they've been working on it for a while, and now they're filming it, and the sets are good to go, and they have a lot of the props good to go. Like, I think they'll bang out season 2 really quick. Like, I could see it top of 2026. I could imagine it, man. It wouldn't be surprising at all. So I don't think we'll have to wait too long to see more Fallout in any sense soon. There's definitely still Fallout projects in development. This statement confirms that again. So there is still that, which Todd already said as much, but there's nothing they can say now. So Fallout fans, just join me. Take a breath. We're going to be getting fed soon. Like, that's what's happening. Like, because what the thing that's bringing me solace is they're going, oh, y'all really like that, don't you? Oh, we knew you liked it, but we didn't know it was that much. Well, let's get to work. Now that you hear there's multiple Fallout games in production, I'm like, Fallout fans, there might come a time 5 years from now, you'll sit here and go, oh, so much Fallout, bro. I miss when it was a unique niche kind of thing. And y'all will be barking up a different tree. I'll be bathing in it all. Don't get it twisted. But
you're backstroking.
Yeah, I will be. So yeah, that's my word on it. What is yours? How do you feel about what Phil is saying on the future of Fallout?
Before I do that, I am surprised by you with this thing. I was expecting a different response. I didn't think.
No, I wanted to get upset, but the more I looked at it, I was like, what am I going to do? Bitch and moan again? Like, this is what it is, and what does this mean? It means that the franchise is doing well, and that makes me happy. I'm a total fucking simp for Fallout, so it makes me happy to see.
I respect that. Look, yeah, like this one, when I read it, and you know, he's talking about the success and not trying to, like, almost, what is the verbiage? Almost like not shoehorn in or that kind of energy, you know, creative liberty. You know, I get it, and ultimately they were right. And from a corporate standpoint, we get it. It's bigger as it's ever been, and this is what I still going to fall on this sword though. There's a part of me that feels that they didn't know how this would land. And in fairness to them, no one knew it was going to be this, right? So now that we know it is this, it is the literal zeitgeist. Fallout is as big as it's ever been. Okay, cool. Now you get your creative teams together. Now you're working on, okay, cool. All I'm saying is, we know there is season 2, right? We know that now. And we know that this thing is hotter than fish grease, right? I think it would behoove you at minimum, let's have a Fallout remaster with one of the old joints. How about we put the promotion for the remaster of the old joint baked into the show after the credits, so you know to go. Hey, you like what you saw? Guess what's out right now? Yeah. You could go get. Come on, bro! Like,
I feel like a New Vegas remaster with where the show season 1 is trending is like, I would argue, and I love Fallout 3 more than New Vegas, but that is like, dude, you guys are dumb as fuck if you don't do anything. Like,
that's what I get. Man. I get Fallout 5. I get that. Productions, there's no way to line it up. Fair. You right now know you got the hottest stick.
Yeah.
Please, it would behoove you, in my opinion, have it lined up. Because one thing you could say about PlayStation, when Last of Us show was out, that remaster was ready to go.
Yep.
It's about, remember, we're in the age of transmedia. Movie, cartoon, game, in the same hemisphere and pocket. Let's just get Fallout. Let's get a 76 or one of the old. What was the one on the leaks? What was it? Fallout 3 remaster? What was the remaster?
Fallout 3 remaster.
Come on, bro. It's time. That's all I'm trying to say. You know now. Fair enough before. You know now.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm gonna push back on you, Phil. Get the remaster going, bro. Get that.
Yeah, like now you know, right? There's no question marks. Like you said, you know that. I mean, I feel like you kind of had to know before. Not that like people would love it this much, but you had to know like Fallout is Fallout. Like,
yeah,
this is the main thing that I think you bought that and Elder Scrolls. You bought Bethesda for. Like that was their version of Call of Duty. Like that was the highest grossing shit you bought in that acquisition. That's why you paid $7.5 billion. So
yes,
you know, part of the delay I think is inexcusable, but to not line up with the show, I get it. Because if we're on the other end of a really bad season one, we're like,
and it was terrible and it's laughable. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah. That's fair. I'll give him that. But yeah, for now that we know, let's go.
Yeah. I still think it can happen the opposite way. Like they can drop season 2. It could be awful. I think a demand for the game would have existed either way. Like it would have been like, see, Fallout should have never been a show. It should always be a game. Give us a game.
Yeah, so, hindsight 2020 type energy.
Yeah,
I got you.
But this definitely propels them in the right direction where when they drop a game, oh man, those sales are going to be nuts.
Let's go.
All right, next up here, COD. Call of Duty data miners Vondi is Pog and COD Warfare Forum have claimed that Black Ops 6 will feature collaborations with Halo, Gears of War, and Doom soon. Sir, how are we feeling about this? This is kind of the stuff we were talking about. Get the Xbox brand integrated a little bit more. Thoughts on this?
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Let's go. This is what you got to do. Associate it with your brand. And you've got the hottest IP. We saw all the early projections as far as Circana, Matt Piscatella putting that out there. The thing is still ongoing right now. I saw an update from him that was still talking about the highest percentage of active users on each platform, predominantly playing Call of Duty over any other. Oh, and since our last Duke took the #1 spot for Fortnite.
Wow.
Yes, bro, it's again hotter than fish grease right now. So they've got it. Now you integrate your other IPs into that. Oh yeah, you want that Call of Duty, you want that Halo, you want that Gears of War skin.
This is what we were saying though when they acquired them. We were like, you got to do this, and so I feel seen with this one. I'm like, good. Because, like, you know, we were saying with Candy Crush, you know, you're going to see, like, fucking Senua dropping, like, little candy pieces from the top or some crap. But, like, you know, like, this is the goal, though. Grow the brand awareness, right? Like, throw your shit in there. Like, Doom's coming out soon, right? Doom's a 2025 game. The Dark Ages.
I forget about Doom.
I completely forgot until this moment. Bro, you got to drop that in there. You know, Doom's coming up. Halo's coming up, right? 25th anniversary soon. Gears of War is coming up. Good time to remind people. I don't want to oversell it, but like these collabs are big. Look, there's no reason this shouldn't be the case when you have like Attack on Titan and like a Call of Duty game. You know, it's a good call all around.
Absolutely.
All right. Next up here, just a little bit of news. Spyro Reignited Trilogy is now available in Xbox Game Pass. Do you have any experience with this one?
I have no Spyro experience. I've never played a Spyro game.
It's going to be a short segment. Same.
Oh, wow. We brand into this. Okay, I didn't know. But salute to that, man. I'm curious. Remember our friends? What was our friends that got let go, but then they got a deal, and then they got the deal with
Toys for Bob.
Toys for Bob, right? That's them, right?
Yep.
Initially, yeah. Interesting is all I will say. You know,
gearing up.
Going on. Yeah, gearing up.
All right. Next up here. Warner Bros. Is falling through the floor, bro. I don't know how the fuck they're still in business. Warner Bros. Discovery CFO Gunnar Windefels on Multiversus in an earning calls shared this, quote, "We took another 100 million plus impairment due to the underperforming releases, primarily Multiversus this quarter." I only laugh because like he just directly shouts it out. Like, yeah, this is why. You know, same thing they did with Suicide Squad. Like, this is why. Anyway, bringing down the total write down year to date to over 300 million in our games business, a key factor in this year's studio profit decline, end quote. IGN also reports that during the earnings call, Harry Potter Quidditch Champions did not do much either. This follows up a reported $200 million loss from WB at the top of 2024, thanks to Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and the company's revenue is down 31% year over year, with last year's highlight being, of course, Mortal Kombat 1 and then Hogwarts Legacy. So they made some good money with that sort of stuff. But COG, man, this is number one with Multiverse is the most unsurprising shit ever. When they pulled that from the market and plan to relaunch, I don't know what these companies tell themselves when they're doing this. Like, we're totally going to light the internet on fire a second time by re-releasing this game. Like, that's the vibe I got. Like, this will totally catch on again. It's like, no, Smash needed a competitor. Even though you had stuff to work on, you were out there with like the roster and the excitement and the online multiplayer and the 2v2, like you had your own identity, you had the memes, you had the Shaggy who was like doing Ultra Instinct, like you had it all. Why did you pull this from the market, pretend it was a beta by lying, and then do another full release? It was just like the player base barely fell off by comparison to where it's at now. It would be doing way better if they just kept it out. And I remember when we covered this, when they pulled it, I was like, what are they doing? They're like, oh, it was a beta. This was an open beta the whole time.
Yeah, remember that?
I was like, when the fuck did you even say that? You just released it. And what? The player numbers fell off. So you were like, let's go back to the drawing board. I think it was gone for too long. And this goes to what I said, dude. Right? I'm sorry. I don't mean to eat up all the talking points, topic after topic. This goes to what I've said about, it's really just a live service talking point about this is such a tough genre to crack. And you know that better than anyone. But like, it used to be like, oh, you're a looter shooter. That's tough to get into. But like, dude, you're just the flavor of the week nowadays. I don't know why anyone's pursuing it, quite frankly, because I think even when you catch the zeitgeist, I always go to the finals. The finals is doing okay, but like compared to when it launched versus where it's at now, it's like people are just looking for the next little thing. It's marathon. Okay, we're going to drop into marathons, if it's free to play, that is. We're going to see what's going on there. Okay, that was fun. What's next? And some people stick around and they kind of live off that fan base. So I don't know, dude. I just look at this and I'm like, what do these companies tell themselves with WB especially? Their live service push has been historically bad between Suicide Squad and now Multiverses and the management of that. They are completely saved by Hogwarts Legacy, and they're probably sitting there going, Hog Leg 2 cannot come any sooner. So unsurprising news in one manner of speaking, but just it's staggering how bad they're doing. So what are your thoughts on WB's performance thus far?
Yeah, this is, man, they're really cratering a bit here. And, you know, the Multiverses was just such a gut punch. And, you know, and again, the decision, like you said, to bring it back and say it was a beta and then, you know, to go through this and they see the earnings call literally point the finger at me. That is wild. Like when they be like, yeah, it's that's the reason.
Because I'm sure investors are looking like, dude, what is happening? Like, you guys are losing so much money. Like, they're on a similar decline, in my opinion, to like what Ubisoft's doing, where they're just dud after dud, and it's going to eat them up for years.
Yeah, and then obviously Suicide Squad helped no one and do much favors there. You know, to me, you gotta get back to basics. And the first order of business is you are literally sitting on the gold mine that is Harry Potter, right? So it's time to dig back in the crates. If it was me, I would also behoove you to understand that your base really loves the Arkham series and like, let's get back on focus to what you do. It's almost like, I don't want to say to that level, but it's your way to Assassin's Creed the situation with a base that is rabid for classic Batman games in that form, right? Yeah. So let's play with that. You got too cute and you tried to chase the trends. You tried to do, what was the other one? The Gotham Knights. And you tried to, it didn't work, right? You know what I'm saying? Remember that? it just did. So now you said it perfectly. It says that live service is so difficult because it's not only do you have to catch the wave in the beginning, you got to sustain it. Yeah. That is the hardest. And that's why all my Destiny haters, you got to give people this. It is probably one of the most sustainable as far as longevity and durable and goes through these ups and downs, but it still manages. People would love to have, even right now in a down Destiny time, to love to have that base because they've been through the fire and they keep doing things to keep you engaged. And that's the thing. You're the flavor of the month. These kids are like, squirrel, new thing.
Literally. Yeah.
You're out.
Our rivals might go through the same thing soon. Like it's tough. It's tough to maintain. You're not immune to failure. It doesn't matter what your IP is. Like they probably went with Suicide Squad because they're like, it's of course it's a big superhero game. How could this fail? And it's like people just are so, give them good shit and they'll stick. Look at the player numbers for Space Marine too. Like it's just it's so telling. It's just like give them good shit, they'll stick.
Yep. And even that is tough because of the competition. There's always a new flavor of the month. You always fight Call of Duties outside now. Like it's tough. So I'm pulling for Warner Brothers because of the IPs that they have. But yeah, they've got an uphill battle. This is not going to be easy for them. So God bless on this one.
Yeah, I'm sure priority one is getting something Batman related going that's like mainline. But I mean, they have questions like they have to answer. Like Suicide Squad, they make a choice with a canon Batman that that was the Arkham Batman, and they're like, you got some explaining to do first before you get to whatever's I feel like they'll go the remake route. Like I really think they're going to go back to the like nostalgia well. Like what is safe?
Yeah.
What is safe? That's big budget. That will be marketable and we can produce a lot. And I think they'll go back and just remake old Arkham games. Like especially because dude, Rocksteady lost all of the talent that made those Arkham games.
Wow.
So there's a whole different team there. So it's this.
That's a good point.
It's similar to BioWare, right? Like
yes.
We see what happens when the staff that made Origins and 2 is not the ones working on Inquisition, and Inquisition there was a lot of carryover, but Veilguard, it's just a totally different feel, totally different creative approach. And I can see a similar thing happening here if they went back and did Batman Arkham, whatever. To their credit, though, to WB's credit, no one's really talking about Arkham Shadow on VR, which is apparently phenomenal. And it brings back Roger Craig Smith, and it's like almost a sequel to Origins, which is another game that for some reason WB does not acknowledge, but there is good things happening in the Batman verse, but now they need it on a console.
Yes, absolutely. And you literally sitting on the biggest single player gold mine in Harry Potter. And we know that they're working on something.
Yeah.
You got to get back to that. You
know,
were beating Call of Duty with a single player game.
Yeah.
Get back to that.
Yeah. 100%. All right. Next one here is great news. GOG announces a game preservation program as described on their website. They say the GOG game preservation program ensures classic games remain playable on modern systems even after the developers have stopped supporting them. By maintaining these iconic titles, GOG helps protect and relive memories that shaped you DRM free and with dedicated tech support. And they made like a whole trailer about this saying like, we're investing our own resources to ensure that these games are playable on modern platforms. And I'll read an example in a little bit, but I mean, there's ones even in here like Fallout New Vegas, System Shock 2, like legit classics, Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines. I encourage people to go check out their game preservation program. There's 100 games here. For example, they have like a drop down bar on their website, like see what we had improved for which game was it here? I think it was a Resident Evil bundle. This is the changelog that they did. And this is across all 3 of the original Resident Evil games, right? So let's say you're not interested in remakes or remasters or anything like that. These are the originals. What they did is said all 4 localizations for Resident Evil 1, all 4 localizations of the game included in English, German, French, Japanese, improved DirectX game renderer, new rendering options, so window mode, vertical sync, VSync mode, control, gamma correction, integer scaling, anti-aliasing, and more, improved timing of cutscenes, improved game video player, improved game registry settings, issue-free game exit and task switching. So that's a big problem with old games is like once you tab out, you're fucked. Full support for modern controllers, validified stability, verified compatibility with Windows 10 and 11, added cloud save support. And it's the same thing. Resident Evil 2, improved cutscenes and subtitles, improved save game manager, improved audio and volume and panning, new rendering options again, issueless game exit. Resident Evil 3, same thing here, improved graphics engine, initialization and restart, improved video subtitles, issueless task switching again, stability for Windows 10 and 11, cloud save support. And the list goes on. They also have Witcher 2 in here, Witcher 1's in here, Fallout 1 is here, Fallout New Vegas, as I mentioned, is here, Dragon Age Origins is here. And this is important because this is a digital platform doing this. This is a digital platform where games are going. And GOG has earned my full fucking respect and support for this. Like, to the point where I'm kind of looking at Valve going, hello? Can you match that? Because I might go spend my money elsewhere, at least on these games. I don't need them on Steam. If they are safe here, GOG has always done the DRM free approach, but this is phenomenal to see from a digital distributor. Like, we're investing our resources to keep these alive. That gets me over there looking at their storefront, wanting to buy in mass their games because I know they'll be safe there. So huge announcement in my opinion. What are your thoughts on this game preservation program?
Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I had no idea about this. Obviously, I've always heard great things about GOG and international regions and stuff. And this is phenomenal. Yeah. This is wow. Yeah. Like, we always talk about game preservations on Duke, and I think that kind of the thing we kind of alluded to is like a museum and things of that nature. But to your point, games are going digital, right? This is where things are shifting. We're seeing the splits. We're seeing, even with Xbox, we talked about the 49% on Series S, a digital only console. We talk about PC all the time. How, like, let's be honest, they were pioneering the digital thing before everyone else. And to see a digital only platform produce this initiative, have those stamps, offer that level of functionality and preservation is huge. That's where gaming needs to go, because we can't have these moments lost to time.
Yeah.
You just can't, you know. So this is what I expect this to be an industry-wide initiative, and to see them get in front of it, I ain't gonna front, like, making me look at GOG like I'm about to get some stuff on this platform, because I don't want certain things to go away. There's certain experiences that are just timeless that you can't access anymore. That's why I never got mad at the modding community and all that other stuff, because at least they would try to preserve things that, you know, people were taking apart. And I know we talked about like Marvel Heroes. Remember, like, we were going off last week and found out there's a community trying to bring that and save that game, you know, that again, for whatever reason. And that story was tragic. You know what I'm saying? Apparently, like, one person did something at the company, it created a fiasco, and the higher ups didn't want to have anything to do with it and pulled the game. Yeah. Just like that, a game can go. So yeah, this is important. Shout out to GOG. This is wow. Yeah. I love it.
Great news. Great news. So I will be taking my business there for at least these retro classics. And to their credit, they have done bug fixes in the past. Fallout 3 on Steam, before Bethesda came in and dropped a patch 3 years ago, I think it was terrible. If you wanted to play Fallout 3 on PC, you had to go play on GOG. Because they went in and they bug fixed, gave it stability. It supported like modern operating systems. And it was a huge difference maker, because otherwise that's why a lot of people went and played New Vegas, because it would run fine on modern platforms. So again, shout out to them. They've been doing this for a while, but they've really made it a full initiative now and really put a stamp on it. And it's called a good old game. Like when you see the good old game stamp, they've done that kind of game preservation initiative on it, which is awesome to see. So shout out to them.
Take notice.
Yeah, for real. If Xbox had that, we'll talk about the handheld in a little bit, but you get GOG on there as one of the many launchers I hope you support, that'd be great. Would love to access my classic games that I know are mine.
Right. And have that peace of mind. Yep. This ain't going nowhere.
I can get behind a little digital future if I know that this type of shit's going down. You know, it's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction.
It's in the right direction. Absolutely.
All right. Well, on the other end of this, I sometimes lay out the news more deliberately, but this script and what I've laid out has actually been perfect in the way just these topics are bouncing off each other. But this one I didn't plan out until now I'm reading it. SEGA is delisting a ton of retro classics, and we got them right here. They put this on their support page in a Q&A, saying that these will remain in your library, available to download and play after they've been removed from the storefront, but they're not going to be available to purchase. And those games are, you'll notice the titles here. Cog, I want to get your thoughts as a Sega kid first. Altered Beast, Crazy Taxi, Sega Genesis Classics, specifically it says in parentheses, Mega Drive Classics, Golden Axe, Monster World, Nights into Dreams, Sega Bass Fishing. What a classic that is, man. Shinobi, Sonic the Fighters, Streets of Rage, SVC, Toe Jam and Earl, and Virtua Fighter 2. Now, all of this comes hot on the heels of Sega announcing very good half-year results where they've seen a 22% rise in revenue. So, Cog, what are our thoughts on what's going on here with Sega and their delisting of retro classics? You're muted again, bro.
Sorry, I'm unprofessional today. Painful. I'm so hurt. I was muted. Bro, painful. This is literally the soundtrack to my childhood, like all of these games. And then, you know, for me, the Sega Classics collection was always like that. Okay, they're all housed here. You know, I remember booting it up and it had like an old Genesis retro feel, and it puts the cartridge in the slot like you're in your old, you know, bedroom back in the day. The hope is, obviously we know Super Game and all that stuff, but the hope is that you have some form of collection or something coming up, because this is literally the DNA of who you are. We are delisting for what? You know what I'm saying? So, and then the other thing is, you know, there's many collections that are like, you know, Saturn and Dreamcast, and you know, I'm hoping. Again, I'm trying not to get too crazy. I am hoping that there's something on the horizon that is going to consolidate this, because this makes no sense. This is literally be the equivalent of Nintendo said, all right, guys, Mario, Zelda, everything you love from us, no longer available from. What is going on here?
Do you think this has to do with the
super game?
Maybe not the super game, but these 5 remakes, reboots that they're doing? Like Golden Sun or Golden Axe is one of them. So do you think maybe this is part of, because some of them are weird, like Nights into Dreams or Sega Bass Fishing. I'm like, you're not doing anything with those, so why are you removing them?
Bro, Phantasy Star series. Like this generation, y'all know about the Phantasy Star. That ain't Phantasy Star. The greatest JRPGs of all time, Phantasy Star 2, Phantasy Star 4. Like you can't get these anywhere, and I am worried. So what I would implore everyone to do is get the classics now, because you don't know what they're going to do, right? The hope is that they are going to bring some type of compilation and all this is going to be accessible again. But these are literally the DNA of Sega. And this is concerning. I am sorry. Like, why now? And without any explanation of what you plan to do with them. So, Gunstar Heroes, bro. Like, Landstalker was their Zelda competitor. Like, Streets of... What are we doing? So, again, I'm trying not to be hyperbolic. I don't like it. Yeah. But what I would say is, if you have not owned or purchased, just on the safe side, get in there in case any gaps happen. My prediction is that they are doing some form of compilation. I'm hoping, but hey, you never know. You never know these.
Yeah, they do have the Sega Genesis Classics, that kind of re-release collection. Right. It's described as including over 50 titles across all genres, from all-time classics like Sonic and Streets of Rage 2 to deep RPGs like Phantasy Star, classic arcade shooters, beat 'em ups, puzzles, old favorites. I remember this was on the 360. They've like reported this, and this was released in 2018 on the PS4, so it's available on in turn like the PS5. They were, Xbox Series X. So does that ease any of your concerns knowing that collection exists?
I mean, what eased my concern is like one of the bigger ones was the Sega Genesis Classics bundle, had pretty much 70% of the stuff already. Mm-hmm. So like I would highly advise people to get that just in case.
Physical bros. Come on. Go get it.
Physical bros, get it. Digital. Do what you got to do to get the Genesis. I would say the Genesis, because that houses about 75% of this. But yeah, man, this is very strange news. And as a kid, I just hope that they have a solution for this, because this makes no sense to delist to me.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think their future remakes and reboots have a lot to do with this sort of decision making. So we'll see.
And last thing I'll say,
they did with Sonic, like they do with Generations, even like they're trying to replace their old work pretty much.
And I get trying to promote the new, but what if we don't like the new? What if
what if saying?
What if you go
like
too
me now?
Yeah, what if you go too far and we like, nah, this doesn't catch the spirit. The Streets of Rage games and the Shinobi games, these are the ones, and now we can't go back to them? Sega, no, that's not what we grew up with. Don't get too full of yourself now that you get in the bag.
Yeah,
that's my only concern, bro. Like, don't do that, because if we don't like this new joint, I'm going back to the old joint and tell y'all this is how we used to do it, and this is the real over here.
Shouting at a cloud, I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next up, COG 2K is opened up on their future games lineup. Civ 7 is arriving February 11, 2025, with WWE 2K25 arriving before April of 2025, in the window of fiscal year 25. GTA 6 is still in fall of 2025, and during that same earning call, they actually spoke about the Series S performance for GTA 6, saying that they're not concerned at all about it. Meanwhile, fiscal year 2026 holds Borderlands 4 and Mafia: The Old Country, but the standout to me was Judas, which is still TBA. Doesn't even have a year. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that game, man. Like, it looks really great.
Refresh me on that one again.
That's the Ken Levine game.
Oh, the Levine joint.
Yeah, Ghost Story Games. Yeah. And they did previews recently. Like, I know Skill Up, Jake Baldino, like I know they went and checked it out. A few other, I think, went to go check it out. And they were like, yeah, it's like really great. And like you can feel the BioShock vibe and all that stuff. But why do a preview for something that's still like TBA?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know. It's just so weird. Like that, to not even say like 2026. I don't know.
Yeah.
Still a little, unless they just were specifically told by Ken, like, please don't put any sort of window on it. We're about to announce it at like the Game Awards. Let's have that moment. I hope so. But that was the one that stood out to me like a sore thumb. I was like, how do we have a date for like Mafia: The Old Country, but we don't have one for Judas, which has been in development for a stupid long time? Like, it's got to deliver, man, at this point. Like, Ken's got to deliver a masterpiece, which I think he will. I have no doubt in my man. But what do you think of this release lineup? Any thoughts?
Yeah, thank you for the catch on Judas. I'm getting, listen, every bit of research I've done with Levine and 2K, the vibe I get is he has a lot of power in that building and a lot of investment potential. So the vibe I'm getting is leave him alone until it's ready. Which is insane, the amount of carte blanche and trust that they have in him, you know, obviously after getting him. So that's what I'm getting. But I'm with you. TBA is very interesting. Like, we are not even willing to pull a date on it. So, you know, I got to deliver. So I think I internalize that as they're giving him the time he needs. And when he's ready, they'll give him his moment. As far as the rest of this news and the earnings call, I do have to talk about the Series S thing. I thought was very interesting because Strauss Zelnick was like, look, we don't anticipate any trouble bringing this on the Series S. And again, not to pop off, but I've always said it's always about, remember, I've asked developers behind the scenes, forget Xbox. I'm asking developers, bro, what's up with the Series S? If it's having a problem, let me know the real, and it's cool. I have no problem accepting if the machine is a pain. What's the issue? And it's always the same answer: developer time, resources, and talent. And depending on those three factors, it can be done, right? So what that told me, when he's shouting from the rooftops that Rockstar, yeah, we got no problem with that. That's no issue. We go where the bases are, and that to me told me everything I needed to hear. You know what it reminded me of? The Nintendo Switch. Remember how Witcher would get all these magical ports, all these. We like, how are they able to do this sorcery to get it onto the? Oh, when you got a base. Oh, you're going to find a way. And you got resources. And the same thing with the Series S. Now that we found out 49% is, they're going to find a way. Now, I ain't going to say no 60 frames per second way with GTA 6 and the resource and the CPU intensive energy of that. But they're going to find. So I thought that was interesting, that because I feel like they try to hit him with a gotcha question, but he jumped all over that. And that to me showed me, they've got the resources.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, Rockstar, if anyone, should have those resources, but I am keen to see how that performs on Series S.
Absolutely. Now we might be at a 720 or something, but we might get there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's not saying how they're going to get this.
He didn't say that,
but
it's going to be there. Time
will tell. If it is at 720 for whatever reason, that PS5 Pro comparison might be pretty brutal for Xbox.
True. Especially if the key for PS5 Pro, if they could hit 60. See, that's why my trepidation with them. Everything with the older stuff really hasn't, I'm not impressed by that. You impress me, you do GTA at 60, then it's going to be a conversation.
That's a system that's totally going to be defined by its back compat showing. I think has been really underwhelming. Like, I was watching a few videos on it. I'm just like, no, this doesn't, like, I was keeping an open mind. I was like, no. But looking ahead, I'm like, if you can make other games built with this in mind much better, then you might have my attention. Now, $800 have my attention? No. But, if you do a little price cut and maybe a version with the disk drive built in that I don't have to pay like $80 for, with the stand packaged in, I don't have to pay $20 for.
Re-release that the 30th anniversary gray.
Yeah.
Make a second run.
Second run of the collectible would be nice. I would be
got my attention.
Yeah. Undercut the scalpers, all that fun stuff. And I might be interested. Next up, Cog, sticking with 2K, GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition got a surprise update 2 years after its launch, including features placed in a mobile version that came out December of 2023. These features are a classic lighting mode that restores the look and the feel of the sky in the original games, as well as bug fixes and changes the shadows, reflections, draw distances. And interestingly, the original developer for the Trilogy remaster in Grove Street Games has been removed from any mentioning in the game whatsoever. So it's much better looking. People are very happy with it. I know it's been years in the making. This was famously a disastrous launch for Rockstar. However, they have recovered through a mobile game developer, it seems, and managed to figure it all out. And Grove Street Games is erased from the history books with it. So any thoughts on this? I haven't tried out the Definitive Edition at all. I'm such like a GTA noob in the scheme of like experience. Like, I have a little bit of 4 under my belt, a lot of 5, and a lot of San Andreas. That's it. I played San Andreas when I was like fucking 9, dude. Like, I probably should not have been playing San Andreas at that age.
Yeah, look, man, I'm glad they fixed it, you know, made the wrong right. You know, they went back in there, and because this got dragged.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember the media coverage of this. I was shocked that they butchered it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is something that I was like, man, this is a beloved franchise. Like, how do you mess that up? So yeah, good to see it made right. So that's really pretty much all I got on that one.
Yeah.
But I will say it's funny that they erase Grove Street Games from the pyramid. Well, that's wow.
Yeah, they're like, fuck it. Next up here, we got news from Tom Henderson over at Insider Gaming on Ubisoft's Project U, which I had no idea what the hell this was until I read it. But I thought it was interesting because just, again, Ubisoft's collapse has been very fascinating to read. So he writes, Ubisoft's Project U returned to the drawing board this year following 5 years of development. Project U was officially announced in September 2022 as a revolutionary new kind of session-based cooperative shooter. But after over 2 years since its announcement, nothing publicly about the game has yet been announced. That's because Project U, internally codenamed Pathfinder, quietly returned to the drawing board in spring 2024 following issues surrounding the game's replayability. For those unfamiliar with Project U, its premise is that Earth has been invaded by machines that wanted to mechanize all life. The game would see 10 teams of 4 battle it out in PvE combat against progressively more difficult enemies as they progress through the map's zones, which could have the 1,000 of enemy AI robots on the map at any given time. Eventually, players would enter the final zone in the middle of the map where they'd need to defeat the boss. Despite initially receiving generally positive feedback from players, one fundamental flaw plagued the game from its start: its replayability. Sources say it was a constant issue for the developers and would see the project's budget balloon due to continuous reworks. Such reworks included adding more variations to the map with biomes and adding new bosses to change its repetitive nature. However, playtests in February 2024 revealed that the game lacked the replayability needed. In March 2024, Ubisoft Annecy announced that Project U, codenamed Pathfinder, development would cease immediately and that outsourcing studios would move on to different projects. 2 of the game's directors, Mathieu Grandjean, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, and Damien Kikin, left the project among many other developers, with Grandjean moving on to Assassin's Creed and Kikin eventually making his way to DICE this month. Instead of being canceled, Ubisoft internally noted that the PvE games can still be successful, citing the viral launch of Helldivers 2, which sold an estimated 1 million units in its first 5 weeks. As such, it said that Ubisoft still believes in this project and has moved Project U back into incubation with a new producer and a small team to explore new ideas. However, after over 5 years of development, current and past project developers tell me it's difficult to see how this game would succeed. And I just look at this, bro, and I think this is Ubisoft doing the most Ubisoft shit of all time. Look at that success. Can we emulate it? And we're going to go ahead and try our best to do so with some kind of copycat Helldivers 2 thing years after it was relevant and miss the window completely and flop and then wonder why it failed. What do you think of what Project U is doing here?
Yeah, PvE. So I will say, in positive news, I do like the idea of, like, in a world where AI, people are very concerned about AI and stuff like that, machines. You know, I do like the idea of, you know, machines trying to take over. We're going to play this game. Yeah. You're going to do humans versus machines kind of thing, almost like me versus Skynet. I would be interested in the premise, but when you hear about the development problems, you hear about the replayability, you hear about, like, they find things to stick, and then the directors, you know, then move on. It gives you, you know, chasing a wave energy on some level with, you know, obviously look at what the popular look, all games do this, right? We did hear at one point Halo, you know, was potentially could have been like some tactical thing. Remember we heard about the development, remember, because it was coming out in the age, being developed in the age when Rainbow Six Siege was popping. Yeah. Right. So there is, on corporate level and AAA game space, there is a level of wave chasing and trend catching and looking what's popping and see what's going on. And what we're learning, though, I think we're in the era right now, of course, correction. What we're learning is that a lot of these games are flopping hard, bro. Yeah. We just got to be real. I mean, I hate to keep bringing it up, but Concord is an example, right? It's like,
this year has been like splashing type of flops. Like, it's been bad.
It's been bad, bro. And the games industry is getting a harsh lesson in that. And I think one is too many games, right? So there's too much competition, which Colin has always said. I 100% agree with him on that. It's way too many games. Everyone wants your attention. And you got to get back to what you do. You got to get back to that. So I don't know. You know, I don't want no studio to fail and no studio to go under, but this felt like a trend catching kind of initiative. And, you know, if they put it out, I hope you've done enough research and focus group testing that it sticks, because when you hear the initial stuff, it didn't sound.
Yeah.
When you don't have replayability in that type of style, it's not going to work.
It's dead on arrival. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in like 4 or 5 years. But until then, stay tuned.
They do.
Sea of Stars got a massive free update called Dawn of Equinox. It gets local co-op, which can be online through SharePlay. Combat 2.0 is now in the game, so they introduced sticky combo points where they now remain after the battle, giving more use to them overall instead of building them up during combat. Mystery locks are here, so damage types for each enemy are now hidden and require the player to try different attacks to see what will break the lock. If I were to draw a very obvious comparison, because this is over-explained, it is Octopath Traveler. Like, just hit the weakness. Oh, that's what you're weak to. Got it. They revamped the prologue. They added bonus cinematic scenes, a speedrunners mode relic. Difficulty presets are here. They improved the parrot relic. They added localization improvements, which I think is huge because some of the writing, I'm usually not a big stickler on like grammar with certain games writing, like, you know, but especially like an indie project. But this, I was like, it was especially terrible. And quality of life improvements are on the way. This is all on the heels of the throes of the Watchmaker DLC, which is still in development and on track for spring 2025. So, Cog, any thoughts on this Sea of Stars free update? Game is still available on Game Pass, so people can download it, check out this update with everything they've added in. Will this call your name at all?
Actually, yes. This is what I'm mad at, because I'm like, it just came out at a time, again, I'm playing a ton of stuff, and I'm like, man, I really wanted to get down because I heard so many good things about it. And I think shout out to Attic. He really goes hard for it. He really liked it. He enjoyed it. I felt like this was a baddie game. I felt like this was a baddie. Yeah. Like, what was your vibe? Refresh me.
I like it a lot, but I was extremely, I mean, this is a trend. Everyone knows me. I was extremely critical of the writing because the character work and the grammar and just the spelling, like it was not good. It was
grammar, spelling?
Yeah, grammar, spelling. It was not good. Like it was very. It seems to have been localization. I forgot where the Sea of Stars team is based, but
got it.
It was like on a level of like, what the fuck is happening here, bro? Like it's like, again, if it pops up once, like you miss a period or a comma or something's on, I'm not like that, dude. Like I'll live, but like when it was like in your face multiple times throughout the first like 3 hours, like what the fuck? Combat was really good. They had a really great revive system where like when you got knocked out, like you could wait a certain amount of turns and kind of keep fighting and like get your teammates up and not spend items. And I thought that was really good. The sticky combo points thing is a great choice because pretty much every fight you'd start at 0. So basic encounters would go on too long because like you'd have to build up to those main attacks that you had instead of like, think of it like a mana pool, right? But imagine if your mana pool started at 0 in every fight, you had to build it up to spend it. And that's how it originally worked. Now it's like, okay, I built up to 20 mana and now the next fight starts, I will start with 20 mana. So I can like immediately fire off an ability and get through that fight quicker. So it just improves the flow better. It seems like with Combat 2.0. But yeah, I like it. I mean, the art style is beautiful, but the characters didn't really grab me. The world was really good. Combat was pretty solid. Like it's a great game. I think people should check it out. But to me, like, I just think the most encouraging sign was just seeing, hey man, like a indie pixel art game is fucking killing it on the market. And by the way, they sold all those copies while taking a Game Pass bag, while taking a PlayStation Plus bag.
Yes,
they did the double feature. And still managed to find tremendous financial success. So they did something magnificent here. And I'm stoked for them on that front. But yeah, it's a great game. I think people should check it out. If you like classic turn-based JRPGs, it's very inspired by Chrono Trigger. And if you like that, you like this. I just don't know if the story will do as much for you. But the art's beautiful. The world's music's beautiful. It's definitely a very inviting game.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw this up on the rug. It's coming back to me now. Remember now, this is Sabotage. It's about people. What's wrong with me? This is Sabotage. These are
they based in the U.S.? I don't remember.
I believe Sabotage. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. I think they are Canada. I feeling like Canada. Correct. Check real quick
right now.
Professional bot, but I know who's doing it. It's my man Thierry Bollinger, who did The Messenger. Who I interviewed. This developer, passionate guy.
Quebec City.
Quebec City. All right, I was right.
That's why, because I remember I went a little hard on the grammar because I was like, how?
Yeah, it's a little off. All right, so they're getting on that. Co-op's got me. No, I got to get in this because I remember we raved about the Messenger. You know what I'm saying? We raved about the humor and stuff like that.
People I know who's actually played that game.
Oh, so good. Love that game. Oh my gosh, such a throwback to the Ninja Gaiden style games. And it's so funny that they had like the 80s, 90s retro switch mode and all that. So yes, Sabotage Theory. Okay, so what it is he took the feedback, put the Combat 2.0. Now we got a local co-op. So when is it out? I might have to get download. What is this?
Yeah.
It's now?
Pre-update.
All right.
Yep.
You're not getting the download. We're going to see what's going on because I ain't even got a chance to try yet. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is one of the most passionate independent developers I have ever interviewed. This guy gets it, and he has a feel of what gamers want, and he does take feedback. I remember I came back with Messenger on a few things, and then they dropped the DLC. It was called
it was that summertime one.
Summertime one. Yeah. I gotta get it, bro. It's one of the funnest interviews I've ever had. His booth had like this whole like Hawaiian theme, and we had the the Aloha joints. Yeah. But I was challenging it, and he was coming back, and he was giving me great responses. He was like, "Cog, I remember your feedback from last time." I was like, "Oh, okay. We've added this. We did that." I said, "Okay." So he's a guy that pays attention, and I gotta pull for people like that because most developers sometimes they get a little cocky with it, like, "No, this was our version."
Like we knew better. We know better. Yeah.
Shout out to the area. I got you, C.S.Star. I keep forgetting that's him. I gotta download that. Give this a shot.
You'll probably like it. I will say the writing in the terms of like the humor that you'd find in
it's a little off than Messenger.
Like Messenger was wonderfly written. That's why it's so strange. Messenger was hilarious, wonderfully written, but this game is just like, I think in a lot of ways polar opposite, like not downright awful, just like you don't get that same charm and humor. Like Messenger is like one of the funniest games I've played. Like that was
bro, it's hilarious. I remember being in the item shop and be like, "Yo, stop going over there, stop touching that thing, bro. I told you not to do that."
It was so. That game put a smile on my face way more than most. It was great. If anyone's listening to this and you enjoyed Sabotage's past work, like go check out the Messenger.
Absolutely.
It is amazing. If you haven't checked it out, you really should. Like, especially really thoughtful idea on how time travel works because they changed the art style for it. Like there's the old age 18-bit, and when you go into the future, it's 16-bit. And they changed the music and everything. It's such a the idea sets my brain on fire. It's so good.
So good. I will definitely check that out. I will give feedback.
All right. Well, on to some questionable news. Earlier this year, renowned Capcom director Hideaki Itsuno, responsible for Devil May Cry and Dragon's Dogma, left the company after 30 years for a new venture. This week, he announced his new studio called Lightspeed Japan Studio with teams in both Tokyo and Osaka. The plan is for him to develop original AAA action games just like he was doing at Capcom. Here's the kicker. It's a Tencent game subsidiary and was originally the co-developer of Krafton's PUBG mobile version. So, bag must have been crazy, of course. We know Tencent's got the bag. They got Hideaki Itsuno. They got Sean Layden as a strategic advisor. I learned this week, and I was fascinated to learn this. They have 30% ownership of Larian, the Baldur's Gate developer, which I was like, what? And it got so caught up. It was buried news, but I was looking at it. People thought that they were going to buy the D&D license. And Larian had to shut it down. Sven Vinke had to shut it down. They obviously, we talked just last week, Remedy, they have a lot of money wrapped up in them. They have money in like Epic. I mean, the tendrils are spreading. People need to pay attention. And it's one thing if developers are getting bags and doing their own creative vision. I don't blame them at all then. Truly, I don't. But the thing we just have to be aware of is Tencent has meddled in the past. And they have meddled enough where they got a bad enough reputation that they made the Level Infinite brand to hide the Tencent brand. This Lightspeed Japan studio to hide the brand because they know Tencent's got stink on it, dude. It's very clear. But Hideaki left after 30 years at Capcom for this venture. So he's getting his bag and wishing him all the best. Same thing as we would with Sean Layden. But what are our thoughts on his new venture here with his new team?
Yeah, conflicted. Look, I'm all about, people, what I call the circle of life, right? Where you've established something, you've made this great company, and this is a legend, right, in the space. And now he's going to do his own AAA, Lightspeed. And I respect that, I do understand that video game publishing and development is extremely expensive, and it's hard for people to, if Tencent comes knocking at your door and this could help get you through, I understand.
Yeah.
Always said I'll be consistent. I'm not going to judge you for taking it. I'm going to judge you for what the potential outcome is if you don't meet your targets and they start to gain more of a percentage of your brand.
Remedy.
And then when that happens, you have to be prepared based on censorship. We've done numerous podcasts with Colin and stuff like that about Tencent. When that happens, based on what their ideologies are, right, that can now affect video game development. And one thing I personally don't like in video game development is any form of censorship that say you can't do X, Y, and Z in our games, right? I just personally, I am not for that. If that was the case, games like my favorite games of all time, Mass Effect, wouldn't exist with the choices, with the style, and you can't depict this in our game, this war in our game because of, you see what I'm saying? That's that slippery slope COG don't like. So again, I understand. I don't judge you per se for taking it back. I just worry about they have a percentage in everything. And if you happen to trip and fall, they may own you.
It's kind of how people view Microsoft, right? When a company gets weak, arm goes around the shoulder, like, oh, Activision, sexual assault allegations, lawsuits. Oh, man, Bobby Kotick, you need some help. Come here. We'll bring you in. We'll clean you up. We'll make you look nice, right? Like you right there can see it. And that's how, and people go like, oh, there's Microsoft doing what Microsoft does best, right? And it makes sense. But Tencent does the same shit. Again, I will always go and point at Remedy. If Remedy does not perform, they will be the first example of like what Tencent does to Swarm, or what we see with Ubisoft as a very current example. They had a 10% increase, and then the second Ubisoft started to slide a bit, right? They increased their investment, right? Don't worry, we got you. Here's some money. We got you. Then Ubisoft slipped some more. And what happened? First report, Tencent's looking to buy them out. They're like, look, we've been great partners. You got all this IP. Think of all the mobile games that we can make with this. Like, it's so obvious. It's almost painful that no one just talks about it the same way you would talk about Microsoft or any big corporation that is loaded with cash, that is able to go and spend capital and just be able to spend it on whoever they want.
Isn't Tencent number one?
Tencent is number one. Yeah.
No one talks about this.
It's so strange to me because it's like,
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Because the tendrils are everywhere, even in games media.
Yeah.
And money.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's a shame. It's a shame because it's not even like a vilification of them. It's like, look, if we haven't heard any recent stories in the meddling. So it's like, if that's their new prerogative and they're like, yeah, do your thing. We just want to have we see a lot of financial opportunity in gaming. Then you're no different from a Microsoft, a Sony, and Nintendo. Go ahead. But if they continue to meddle, that is my concern. And they definitely have the loose grip that gets tighter, right? And that's the thing people need to worry about. So,
good point.
We'll see what happens, but let's move on to our next subject. We're almost out of this. NetEase had multiple executives arrested for an alleged money laundering scheme. This comes from GamesIndustry.biz. We'll read the article and then we'll chat. It's a very brief one. 9 NetEase employees have reportedly been detained on a money laundering scheme and bribery charges amounting to an estimated $139.3 million. As reported by Bloomberg Law, 2 senior executives were among those allegedly arrested: General Manager Jin Yuchen and Esports Division Head Zhang Liang. The alleged corruption reportedly occurred within its esports and distribution and marketing sectors, according to Chinese news sites Yikai Global. An unknown number of external individuals linked to the anti-corruption charges are also being investigated, with NetEase adding that 27 external companies have been blacklisted due to connections with the conduct of those arrested. According to an internal memo, the 9 employees involved have since been fired from NetEase and are no longer listed on the firm's systems. A NetEase spokesperson told Eurogamer that police were investigating corruption charges but would not disclose more details at this time. As noted by Eurogamer, this is reportedly the second internal anti-corruption investigation launched by NetEase since September 2023. And Naraka Blade Point money, that Marvel Rivals money. Irresistible, man. What are our thoughts on what NetEase has been up to, Cog? Twice in a year span. Pretty bad. Heads are rolling. What are our thoughts?
Damn, NetEase, come on, man. I'll be liking y'all. Yeah. Why y'all gotta do this? Y'all, I think y'all involved with the Destiny joint too. They got the. I think they doing the mobile joint with Destiny, Rising.
Yeah, yes. Oh my God, yeah. They just got it out.
Man, I was trying to big y'all up, and y'all do this to me.
Yeah,
yeah, it's not a good look, bro. The esports corruption, and what makes it bad is this is the second now form of corruption. That's inexcusable. I mean, again, it's one of those things where it's like, what's that expression? Like, this ain't your first time. Like, you keep getting your head caught in the cookie jar. Now we got to look at you a little different, bro. Like, what's going on over there? So, I'm not going to go to the level of Tencent and stuff like that yet, but they've been picking up steam, man, ever since, remember I told you the Narakas and all that stuff. And then obviously Marvel Rivals, like you said, they've been attaching themselves to really big things. And, when you hear this level of corruption and money laundering and like, what's going on in the building, y'all? What's going on? So be careful. You gotta be careful out there when you're signing these deals with companies and stuff like that. Yeah, this is very unfortunate because I full disclosure, I like NetEase games. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm
just super excited for Marvel Rivals too.
Like, yeah, it's not going to stop me from playing the game. I'll be the first to admit. But it just bothers me when I hear these level of reports. And yeah, they could say, "Oh, those dying, they're gone." But now this is the second time, right? This is not the first time. So it makes me now, I got to eyebrow you now. Like, damn, what's going on with y'all as a company with ethics? Like, that concerns me.
100%. Cog, this last bit of news, man, save the best for last, in my opinion. A Mass Effect TV series is in development at Amazon, and wait till I just pay close attention if you're listening, right? Pay close attention to the names I'm about to shout out as part of Mass Effect television. While the plot details are unknown at this time, Variety reports that Fast and Furious 9 writer Daniel Casey will be handling the script. Ari Arid, and
who's that?
And EA's Michael Gamble will be heading up executive production. Kareem Zrake will also be serving as producer via Cedar Tree Productions. If that was not enough, I forgot to include this in the script. John Cena has teased that he is involved in the Mass Effect television show because as this news broke, he posted a picture on his Instagram from Mass Effect 2.
Are you serious?
And so people think he is Commander Shepard. This sounds like a fucking disaster. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to call my shot too early, but this sounds like a fucking disaster. Let's go down the list. All right. Daniel Casey. Hey man, there's Fast and Furious guilty pleasure, right? Right? They're not making fun of anyone for enjoying it. But when I think of guilty pleasure, popcorn movie, and best sci-fi gaming trilogy, these two do not mesh well.
You don't see the marriage?
I don't see. Wait, Fast and Furious 9 went to space though.
You don't want to see Mad Makos flying out the air, dropping down on this.
Like it went to space though, Matt. It's like, no, come on, man. Ari Arid. Now, this is not Avi Arad, who is the famous Marvel producer that is responsible for like creative decisions that meddled with something like Spider-Man 3 and forced Venom into the movie. But this is Ari Arad, producer of Borderlands. His highest rated movie this man has been a part of was the Ghost in the Shell remake, which is at a 41%.
Wait, he was the one that did this recent
Borderlands movie.
The one that super flopped, the one
that
everyone...
producer. Yep. So you got him there. Kareem Zrake is the only one with a good track record because this individual worked on the Netflix era of Marvel. So Daredevil, Punisher. There's still Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. So you got good shit.
Iron Fist, he don't get no props for
man. I know.
Everything else, I'm with you.
Point being is like Punisher, Daredevil, right? Like that's
that's fire. That's pinnacle.
Yeah. So there's some good stuff there that this individual had worked on.
All right.
But the trend is like Ari Arad, deep ties in Marvel. Kareem Zrake, deep ties in Marvel. I'm just like, what is, and then you play Dragon Age Veilguard, you're like, oh, this like feels very much like we watched them. I think Marvel movie writing, by the way, is like a million times better than anything in Veilguard. To be clear, I am not one of those people who's like, oh, the nauseating, he's right behind me, isn't he? Type of right. I'm like, look, Marvel's got something going, and I'm all for it. Like, I think they're doing good work for the most part. There's been some fucking terrible things. Don't get me wrong, but I still enjoy a good Marvel movie here and there. But when you're hiring Marvel talent and the Fast and Furious 9 writer to make a Mass Effect show with potentially John Cena in the lead role, who I know was great in, like, I think Peacemaker. So I don't want to judge too hard. Yeah, like, I like John Cena a lot, so I'm not going to judge too hard, but it's a comical fucking mix-up here of just staff and talent already. The only reassuring name I see amidst everything here is Mike Gamble, our hero, right? The guy who's like, you know, I know he's been part of like Andromeda and Anthem and stuff, but like this dude gets Mass Effect. And I will defend his name and his honor. I will defend it. Like, this dude gets it. He cares. His hand in the project is encouraging. I just hope he has a strong hand in the project. And so when John Cena is like, what if I go like this in the middle of my introductions? It's like he goes, no, we don't do that in the world of Mass Effect. You can't say you can't see me, John. You can't do that, pal. So I'm just hoping that they have a strong focus here on what the story is. Cog, I've talked enough, though. I got to get your thoughts. And I want to know if you have an idea of a story that are they going to retell? Are they going to retell the original trilogy? Or where do they go with this Mass Effect story?
All right, let me get the emotional part out the way first, which is I don't like Travis. I love you. You're my homie. You're a Fast and Furious stan. I get it. I don't want anything Fast and Furious to do with my Mass Effect. It's just too over the top. It's too hokey. I don't like that part, right? I'm nervous about that part. Please keep Fast and Furious energy away from Mass Effect. That's me. What's giving me a thread of hope is Gamble, because if you have gambling, the mistake that Halo made is nobody from the games doing anything, right? So we didn't watch it. We don't care. We're going to do our own. So Gamble gives me hope, right? Then your man, Kareem, okay, cool. Netflix, Daredevil, one of the most classic. I still think about that hallway scene.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, classic. You know, obviously, I even thought Jessica Jones was underrated, at least the first season of the villain.
I agree.
I liked it. You know what I'm saying? Defenders are trying to...
Netflix era of Marvel stuff was kind of good. Like, I
grounded, dope heroes, Punisher, amazing. Rooftop scene, Daredevil, Punisher. Amazing. You let them live. I put them down.
Honestly,
Classic.
when I was seeing this this list of names, I was thinking of the Punisher scene where he's like, no. Why? Like that. I was thinking
exactly. Shout out to that. So look, my hope is Gamble has way more influence on this process. In a sense, like of a Todd Howard being there for Fallout, knowing what Fallout is. Gamble knows what Mass Effect is. So I'm going to keep the hope alive. What I want them to do is, Mass Effect 1 fans rejoice. I'm going to give you your flowers. I want the Citadel first human Spectre story told. One thing about Mass Effect 1 I will give them, and for the people defender, it's saying, look, it's humanity's presence onto the scene, the galactic scene for the first time. That's what made Mass Effect great. You know, you are rising up. So if you want to retell a little bit of the Saren story and put your own spin on it, you know, and start the threat of the Reapers, I'm for it. I don't have any problem with that. Just do not do what I consider the Halo TV series. Like, don't start deviating crazy and start putting on these way different spins. You've literally got the classic story right there. Or the other route. I want the first story told in a way, but if you don't, it's going to be weird without Shepard in a way. You know what I'm saying? Because Shepard is the most iconic thing. If you go with another Spectre and stuff like that, that's just me. You know, Shepard is iconic. Like, we just can't get away from that. If you want it to pop off. Now, Cena, I got to be fair a little bit. Look, I like John Cena. He has shown acting chops. I don't know how I feel about him and Shepard, but I'd be willing to entertain it again if they're going to stick to their video game roots and Gamble has a heavier. So I'm trying to be optimistic here, but I admit I was very disgusted to hear anything Fast and Furious about. I don't like that. I don't like Fast and Furious movies. Look, if y'all like them, I get it. It's the popcorn movie. Haha. I get it.
It's not great stories at times for some. I
heartfelt for some. I get why. I know the appeal. None of that is Mass Effect to me, unless you're talking about budget. If you're talking about budget, Great.
It reminds me of when the Ninja Turtle movies were announced, right? In like the early 2010s. And they're like, Michael Bay will be a producer for this. I'm like, why the fuck is this guy a part of the Ninja Turtles? And you could feel his influence on the movie. And like, I was like very critical of the 2014 movie, but 2016 movie was like a little better. I couldn't tell you shit about it. I just remember walking out of the theater going, at least I didn't hate that. That's how down bad I was as a Turtle fan at that point. I was like, at least I didn't hate it.
I hate it.
It was just that weird mixture of like these two don't go together. Like there's just Michael Bay does his thing, Ninja Turtles do their thing.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
The way
Daniel Casey does his thing. Mass Effect's doing its thing. Like,
yeah, bro, it's this the way you feel about Turtles. You encapsulated how I felt about Michael Bay anywhere near my Transformers. The first one was okay, but it's like, bro,
you know better than anyone.
Bro, Transformers is not just blow up things and big robots. Like you lost the essence of what Transformers is. And then I really had a problem with him when he disrespected the legendary Frank Walker as Megatron. You feel you felt his voice wasn't big enough for me. How dare you? Like that is a slap in the again. Bro, I was so angry. And because they brought the dude that was popping at the time was the Matrix dude, Mr. Smith.
Oh, okay.
And they brought him as Meg. I'm like, I could tell you didn't respect the law. I was like, you here for the cash grab and the blow things up, and you thought that was Transformers. Nah, bro.
The on your face is so funny.
I was tired. The way you feel about Turtles is how I feel about G1 Trans. Don't you come in here with that. So they finally got a little back to the essence with Bumblebee because they moved him off the Michael Bay off the big director role, and they got this other dude who is a Transformers fan. And I was like, see, Bumblebee was actually more Transformers than any of the Bay films, in my opinion. So yeah, they nailed it with that. So that's where I'm at with this whole situation. Keep your man Casey as far away. Just have him do the background stuff, build the Normandy and make the Normandy look cool and make space look hot. Do that. Stay away from the main story, please. Yeah. That's where I'm at.
Right on. All right, Kai, it's time to talk about what games we are playing. I want to hear from you because you seem to have been humbled a bit by a game you thought you'd be done with this week. Walk me through it. Prepare me a little bit for what awaits me at the end of Metaphor Refantasio.
Okay, so let me get it out. This is a very frustrating last 3 days for me. In my mind, last time we spoke, I'm like, all right, I'm close to the end. Had this thing done. Wednesday, I was fully prepared to come in here, just give my overall thoughts on how it landed as a game and talk about the ending because God was close. That's what I was told. So all I will say is, as you get close to the end, the game says, you got a certain amount of time to prepare you for said end. And then mad quests start popping up. Hey, if you do this, even though this is not required, these are some things that could help you towards the end. All right, optional, okay. And I was calculating. I was like, all right, I got all these other things to do, but I want to get to that optional stuff because that sounds good. And I want to be, and I'm in completionist mode. I am doing everything. A random NPC yells from the forest. All right, I'm on the way. Yep. I'm going to help you. I'm that guy in Metaphor, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right. I said, I'm going to do everything. And I timed it. I had 5 days left. And I'm like, okay, it was 3 things on the docket. Give me a couple of window to play around. But I'm going to kick these 3. Maddie, this game decides that these optional things are some of the wildest difficulty spikes I have ever encountered in a game. So I sat there, I said, okay, first one, and I'm not going to name what they are. I'm just going to speak in the most generic terms because I don't want to spoil that for you. The first one, then it doesn't tell you any sequence to do any of them. And this is when I knew it was real. Prior to this point, Metaphor has no problem telling you, when you go into there, man, make sure you bring ice, make sure you bring a gunner, a mage.
You get the insider details. Yeah.
They got the snitches all over. Pay the snitch be like, I heard in that dungeon over there, you don't want to bring no ice. You know how I go in Metaphor. You go in front of the dungeon. There'd be a dude like, bro, I was just in there. There's a certain dude, don't do this. He don't like that. So I'm like, typical. This people, we ain't hear nothing, and people dying in there. We don't know what's going on. Good luck. I said, okay, all right, but still, I want to be like that. I said, you know what? Metaphor, you ain't holding my hand. All right, cool. And here's the thing that got me a little frustrated, man. The reason why my frustration was high is because normally when you in the dungeon, the beauty of Metaphor is this. When you're in the dungeon and you're overpowered or you've grinded, in open world, you can slap fire out of dudes and kill them with the one-hit quitter to let you know. And then when you hold down left trigger, where what's her name, Gallica will survey the world for you, letting you know, she'll be like, hey, you don't want to mess with that. Or hey, we're just as even. Or hey, oh, they're nothing. Yeah. Gallica lets you know with left trigger, right? So I'm in there running roughshod on people. I'm like, because I know I grinded. I know I put in the work. It wasn't like I was beelining main story quests. No. So this is why I'm mad, Metaphor. This is why I'm mad, but I'm happy. Let me correct myself. I'm mad at you, but I'm happy. You have now turned into Dark Souls.
Oh, wow.
You have now, the Shin Megami Tensei crew is coming at me laughing. They say, oh, you learned it. Yeah. Bro, the difficulty spikes. Wild, crazy, bro.
Yeah.
So I did this thing, and I'm not going to say who it is, what it is, why. I got to this thing, and then so are you ready? This is going to be crazy. Are you ready? You sure? All right, cool. Yes. The humbling, bro. What in the hell am I supposed to do? Now, one of the entities, it was just like, you better not even attempt to do these abilities or else. And I attempted, one-hit quitter. Oh, my man's out. What? Oh, this guy's
the most
dead.
Demoralizing feeling when they just slap you and it's just like, okay, well, I'm down a party member already.
I'm down already off the jump. So I'm like, all right, struggling, bro, struggling. And I'm like, I don't think I could beat this thing. And then it's doing its charge ups and its thing. And I'm like, all right, I'm starting. And then slowly I started to get a pattern, but I just don't have enough DPS. I'm like, just not hitting it hard enough. I'm extending this battle, but it's this war of attrition that eventually I'm going to lose.
Oh, God, that's the worst.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to come back to you. For whatever reason, I ain't ready. All right, I'm going to invest, get my archetypes together. Certain other archetypes ability presents itself without spoiling. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to invest in this other thing. And then what made it worse is this particular one that I chose first is like, you could only use an end game power to even hurt it. I'm like, I only got like one person that got that. I'm like, what am I supposed? All right, I'll be back. Leave you alone. A day went past in the cycle. I'm gonna go fight the other thing. There was 3.
Yeah.
Right. And they say, if you do these 3 things, secret treasures and powers await. So I did the first. Now the game, luckily, I went and I said, oh, this first one is normal. It's powerful, but at least it's normal. It ain't got too much crazy things I got to deal with. Beat it. I said, yes. Now I'm going to come back to the other one that was all right, fam.
You got renewed confidence. That's all you got?
Let's go now. And I'm leveling up. I got some other powers with other people and some better synergies. Let's go now. Fight of my life. But I did it.
Oh, okay, nice.
Okay. Mind you, this tested every bit of my JRPG powers, my skill set. This is
Lord like, turn-based challenge for the crown, basically.
This game has challenged me in ways. I haven't felt like this since Sega's Phantasy Star 2. For my Phantasy Star 2 referencers, the best comparison I can tell you is the boss of Phantasy Star 2 is a boss called Mother Brain. Difficult boss, but everyone who knows. Mother Brain ain't nothing until you fought an optional boss called Dark Force. Dark Force is the hardest boss I fought in an JRPG in my life. When I beat that thing, tears, I was like, oh my God, I did it. Like, it is the hardest boss I have ever faced in my life. It took every amount of knowledge on JRPG strategy. This game said, you thought Dark Force or something? Let me show you what we doing over here. So when I beat the 2 was almost, the second thing was almost Dark Force level. I was like, yo, I beat it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm about to face the third thing. This third thing just said, okay, you in the mix for a little bit, but when I feel I'm ready to eliminate you, you're out of here. And I was like, okay. But it gave me, see the difference with these fights, this one gave me a little hint. I'm like, just give me a nugget. And I'm like, oh, okay, I think I know what the nugget is. I'm going to go in the cut. I looked at all my armors. We going to put this on. We going to put that on. I think I know. Figured it out. Survive this thing that it tries to do to get you out of here. All right, fam. And shout out to Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg is my MVP. Yeah, she was like, don't worry, Cog. I'm going to defend the crew. She jumped in front of my man. Hulkenberg MVP for that fight. Because she was getting all the aggro to her, and I was in the mid. Tough fight. War of attrition. Barely did it, but I did it. And it took multiple tries, but I did it.
Oh.
Then the game go.
There's one
Yeah,
more.
So you did that, right? Great. Now you unlocked the real threat. What do you mean? What do you mean? Bro, you just said this was the real threat. So I'm like, and mind you, none of this is the main quest, Maddie. None of this is the god of the game. This is optional. Game said, yeah, because of your great work, now you get to know what really is behind this. What? Metaphor, come on, bro. So I said, all right, this is the most disrespectful boss I've ever faced. The fight start, the entity be like, all right, you done? One hit quit of your whole squad.
Oh, no.
Round, you don't last a minute. I'm like, bro, what the F is this?
Yeah.
There's no indicator on what I'm doing wrong. I'm talking about the
to be switching to story mode difficulty.
Bro, someone said ramp it up for no reason. It's just so cheap. I was just like, all right, I understand that you don't feel I'm ready. Can you just give me an indicator on anything? There's no lore. There is not. The fight starts. He says, your turn's done. Goodbye. Go. You have no business even challenging me type energy.
Wow.
What are you supposed to do with that? I sat there, got one hit quit for an hour. I was like, what is this metaphor? I don't know. I'm looking at clues. I'm going through the dungeon. I'm looking for lore. Did I miss something? I'm going through the quest dialogue, the memorandum. Nothing, man. Nothing is saying anything I've done wrong minus don't show up or you'll die. I'm like, all right. So I did the unthinkable. I never do this. Car goes online. Who fought this? Who beat this? How do I stay in this? When I found out what it was to just even be in the fight, I got to get, all right, it's my only metaphor. I love you. It's my only criticism towards you. Not one time, all you had to give was like, hey, maybe you don't want to have this on. I've never seen a game do this, where a game made you fight all these things, give you amazing things as a result of beating those first things. What's the common sense when you beat a game, beat bosses, and it give you amazing things? What is the natural inclination to do once you get those things?
Put it on, yeah.
This is the pro tip I'm gonna give you. Do not put those things on. You put those things on.
That's such a tease, bro. That like after all of your hard work, you gotta not put on the thing that you worked so hard for.
And I'm like, really, really metaphor. Really, that was the answer. And now again,
was it in any of the item descriptions? Did you end up finding that out?
But it tells you in the descriptions what the properties of some of those things are. This boss doesn't like certain properties.
I guess so.
But no indication, no hint, no lore, no nothing. That's my only nitpick. Don't do that, metaphor. Like, because no one's going to figure that out, bro. Like, it had nothing to do with my strategy, my team. He don't like the sneakers I had on. What? He don't like the armor. What? Come on, bro. Like, and you going to one hit quit me without no indication? Like, come on, metaphor. No, metaphor. That's not it.
Sneakers.
You ain't like, oh, you come in here with these. One hit. So that's my only nitpick. So I'm close to beating said entity. And when I do, then I will be able to challenge the gods. Now, mind you, this is optional stuff and it can be missed. But my ego, because I've been such a completionist, I can't let these entities run around. You got to go. So I will say, in fairness to metaphor, though, even though I'm giving you smoke, I'm loving the fact that I haven't been challenged and pushed in a JRPG game like this since Sega's Phantasy Star 2, since the GOATs of the JRPGs. Like, let's be honest, most of these JRPGs, if you're a seasoned veteran, you're going to beat these things. This thing is making me rethink strategies, using abilities that really are really powerful. And like, I understand Souls, guys, why you love this is literally the equivalent of Souls for JRPGs right now. And there's a part of it.
It sounds a lot like SMT, what you're describing.
Yes.
It sounds a lot like SMT.
And I heard SMT is even crazier than this.
SMT hits you like a bus, and it's just like unfair in a common fight, let alone a boss fight.
Exactly. So SMT, I have any of you guys, I have the utmost respect.
Yeah.
I am now feeling that. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to try to get this thing done tonight. As far as just that entity, I was told you thought that was something.
Oh no.
So I'm bracing for, but I will say this. And I can you transition to the write-in?
Yeah.
Because he made a good comment. I want to comment that.
Sam writes in, hello, candidates for the throne. I have to issue a correction and PSA for Metaphor Refantasio to save contenders some heartache. In last episode, COG stated that changing archetypes after you master them is a smart move to expend your team's repertoire of skills. This is intuitive advice, however, it's actually extremely inefficient. When you master an archetype, you'll see an XP bar under the archetype, which is repeatable, requiring 1000 XP to fill the bar. Each time you finish that bar, you'll get an item, a hero's Leaf of Light, that will allow you to give any character 1000 archetype XP to any archetype of your choice. Strategically picking who gets this XP will be important for unlocking the final Bond Level 8 archetype for each character, since those unlock requirements can be stringent for the characters that join your party later. This will also allow you to keep a character like Hulkenberg on tank the entire game for a hard mode run while unlocking the major requirements for more advanced knight archetypes. P.S. Don't forget about the merchant archetype on a bad weather day, when you can smash all the enemies in action combat to secure funds to gear up for the end game secret boss or challenging the final boss at full power. Have a one day closer to the day of the hero kind of day. Yeah, merchant archetype is fire, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I've been using. At first, I laughed when I got the merchant. I was like, "You want me to spend my money to hit someone?" Now I'm like, I'm throwing all my money. I fought a boss in the second town, we'll say, and this motherfucker got beat down by the merchant. I was just like, everyone else was having trouble, and I was just coming in 500 gold, 500 gold, just
smacking with the abacus.
Smacking him over the head. I was like, yeah, this is great. So,
yes.
Shout out to that. Makong, your thoughts on this right in here?
I want to shout out, like, look, Sam, I understand your point, and overall, your theory is correct. You are correct. I just didn't explain myself correctly last time. That's why I wanted to comment on this. You are correct that you do, when you master, you do, and you keep getting XP, you get the hero light. Hero lights are very important for leveling up archetypes faster, that you don't want to go through the traditional grind. The only pushback I will give you, Sam, is that I didn't say, like, just keep changing willy-nilly after you've mastered something. What I would do is, let's use the character Hulkenberg, for example. When I look at Hulkenberg, I'm looking at the tree of Knight, and I'm looking, okay, what's the next step? Next step is this Magic Knight. Next step is this Paladin. Oh, okay. But then what Metaphor does is Metaphor then says, there are double requirements and prerequisites before you can even get that. So in case of Hulkenberg, they'd be like, yo, you got to make her a mage and get that to level 10 and get knight at 20. So what I'm trying to say is, when I got her to 20 as a basic knight, I'm then moving her to mage so I can start working on the next prerequisite for what, because a lot of the next level requirements require 2 or 3 different archetype masteries for that character. So that's all I'm saying. Your overall theory is sound with getting XP and keep getting Heroes of Light. That's cool. But all I'm trying to say, I'm already thinking advanced. Trust me, bro, I'm grinding and I'm grinding efficiently and I'm doing things smartly. So that's the only thing. I just wasn't like, when I had Hulkenberg mastered, okay, let's just make her a seeker. No, I'm doing things in the progression of her tree that I know that I'm going to be asked of in advance. So it's already ready to go when I'm ready to level. So that's my only pushback.
That's what I actually made Hulkenberg a mage for a little bit of time, because I wanted that magic knight archetype.
Let me explain to you. Pro tip, Dark Knight is so key. And don't sleep on the passives. Because there is a passive.
Dude, no, that's like Persona 101. When you start inheriting from your other personas, when you start fusing them, the passives are everything.
Well, I'm going to tell you, one of the Dark Knight passives that saved the day for me is she recovers from a status ailment in 1 turn.
Yeah.
So when a boss want to be cute and want to throw a hex and a charm and a this and a that, she'd be like, all right, next turn, what's up? We back. So I don't have to worry about her for extended periods of then I love when she jumps in front of your cat.
So good.
I have such an affinity for that character, and I can't wait till you get to do it. But now it's about you, because I done talked about some advanced level stuff, but I want to know where you at. I want to know what's going on, how you feeling, where's the story, what's going on.
All right, man. So we're 30 hours deep now. I had a bunch of monster sessions over the weekend where, dude, you were not exaggerating. Like, when this game gets its hooks in you, like, I had like 2 6 or 7 hour sessions in a weekend. Like, I plowed through this. I'm just gonna, for the sake of spoilers, just use numbers.
Yes.
Town 2. Made
Okay.
my way to Town 3, where shit goes down, and we got party member 4, and love party member 4. Love party member 4. Right away when I saw what was on his back, I was like, yeah, I knew this is Cogs. This is Cogs guy all the way. But
that
his
voice.
performance in the end of Town 2, just, oh man, so good. So good. So yeah, it's doing what Atlas does best, right? The gameplay and the entertainment really gets you up front as they build their world. They have such a large canvas to kind of pick from for all these storytelling elements, and I'm getting into that vibe. I'm getting into the groove now of really falling in love with the story and the characters. Like, it has yet to, again, enter knock me on my ass territory like Persona 4 or 5 Royal, but I'm on the journey now. And I'm like, these are the steps that I'm going to recall so strongly as I do with every Atlas game, because they just have this quality to them. But, you know, it's getting to that point where it's like, now we unlock this on the Gauntlet Runner. You know, now you can plant seeds. Now you can read this book. Now you can hang out with this person. Now you can teleport. So now you can go to all these different towns.
Teleport is so cool.
Yeah.
Within a day, the same day.
Yeah. Now you can find relics, and you can turn those in to do social links with certain people. And it's really opened up. Like, I still have, I think I'm missing like 1 or 2 people I can bond with.
Okay, what's the flows you going? Give me some archetypes you're falling with. You said
right
merchant.
Now, merchant.
What's your guy? What you rocking with you?
Yeah, right now I am rocking merchant, because it just, dude, because you have the almighty attack there. So any boss just gets bonked to death by me over time. And the boss gives me so much money, and plus there's a passive bonus that gives me more money upon winning the fight, that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to spend this shit and just hit you over the head with it 80 times a fight. I don't care. But yeah, I also, dude, because the merchant's so good, because you get the almighty attack, and then if I'm roaming the dungeon, I did skill inheritance. I'm like, let me take every element into my kit. And so I'll be just running around like, I can hit anyone at any point and target their weakness. So I am never a wasted turn, ever. So that's brilliant. I have party member 4 on the thief, now assassin. I have
dark magic.
I have the mage knight going for Hulkenberg.
For Hulkenberg, okay.
And Stroll has been kind of
Stroll. What's your Stroll?
He's been the flex pick for me. Like, I don't know if I'm doing him right, but I have him as a gunner right now, and he's been great. Like,
okay, back row.
Yeah, like, I know they started him as a warrior, but as I said, he was going down so much for me when he was frontlining. And so I was like, I feel this guy could be a lot of different options. And so I tried him as the brawler. The brawler was where he started to really lay it on. Yeah. And then I put him
very
into
risk reward, hit hard, but the energy loss, the HP loss.
You take HP to deal massive damage, though, and especially Skull Crusher hit for crit constantly. So in boss fights, he's had clutch plays. But yeah, it was always the risk of like, he's first to be healed like every fight. And then obviously when you're in dungeons, like the MP management is so important that, you know, I got to make sure like when he's using his health, I got to heal him after like every fight. So it does dwindle that a little bit, but I have yet to go into a dungeon and have to leave. I've managed to one tap every dungeon, which is good.
Same. For me.
Yeah. And so he's now the gunner, which has been really good for him. I feel like he's been in his flow, especially because like sleep shot is so good. Like, I don't want to deal with you next turn. And that's it. Trying to think. I haven't tried Faker yet. I haven't tried that.
Ooh, I'm going to give you a pro tip. I thought that class was trash.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, these abilities.
I was like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Bro, let me tell you. Endgame certified. Ooh. I have completely changed my outlook on that class. after dealing with a lot of, actually before those things that I was talking about.
Using it early?
No, when it came out, I was like, I'm not touching you. I'm not doing that. Right. I remember when it came out, I was like, we're doing other stuff. And then I remember getting to a certain boss before, which I felt was a really strong check. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try, because what else is not working? Other stuff's not working. Oh boy. There were about 3 abilities that change. That is boss fight character. When someone's giving you trouble, just think about Faker sometimes. That's all I would say. Very underrated. I have a whole new, that class has saved me many times.
The merchant opened my eyes. When I looked at that, I was like, but like, then I started using it. I was like, okay, so I got to not judge a book by its cover here with these classes. But I love the archetype system because it's just a job system at the end of the day. But like, that's what Octopath Traveler did. And that's why I loved Octopath Traveler. Anyone could have any job, and it was really fun. And the skills were interchangeable. Like, it was exactly that system. And it's brilliant here in Metaphor. And there's so many classes. So it works really well for me. Yeah, man, I'm just loving every step of it. The music's great. Story's great now. I'm so surprised that this game is T for teen. I really am so, like, it doesn't feel like it's pulling any punches narratively, visually, but it's T for teen. And I say that because, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm dunking on the game a lot, but Dragon Age of Veilguard is rated M. And I also don't get that. I'm like, how did this get M? But then Metaphor, which has like people dying constantly, blood everywhere, brutal deaths, like foul language. It has all this shit, and they're like T for teen. I'm like, how did this get T for teen? I don't want to. I almost feel like the ESRB made a mistake, because I got to another moment where like something big happened. I'm like, this is T for teen? I don't know. It's crazy, man. So, yeah. I mean, the story's not holding back at all, which was, I think, a lot of people's concerns going in. Like, oh, it's not M for mature like Persona. The themes are going to be toned down. But no, man, like, they are going for it. And what I love is I still feel like the hands behind the back for Atlas. Like, I'm in on, I'll say narrative 1, but Atlas always has narrative 2 just tucked behind, right? And I'm like, what's going on with Moore? Like, I've been doing his social link and trying to learn, like, what's it? And I'm getting his backstory now. And I'm like, I have a theory. I won't say what it is, but I have a theory of what's going on in this world and why things are the way they are. And if I am right, I'm like, this is a really interesting way to approach creating a video game story. So I'm very excited to get deeper into it. I think I'm going to play a lot tonight because I'm going to have some open hours. But yeah, man, 30 hours in, adoring it. And I will say this, for those of you out there who have a Steam Deck, this is a certified Steam Deck banger. Highly recommend playing on this. Or I did Steam Link. I did stream it a little bit into my den and was playing it on my Logitech handheld while I was hanging out with Laylee. And that was really great too. So I just want to say, if y'all are looking for gaming on the go with a recent release that's Steam Deck verified and gives you good battery life with
absolutely.
I mean, this is perfect for that. It'll lag a little bit, funny enough, during the loading screens, like when the main character's like walking and, you know, you have like the art behind him. Yeah. That's when it'll lag. Otherwise, it's perfectly smooth. So, the slowest part is when it's doing that. What I forgot what exactly that sign is called, but when you go into the academia and you see that sign, you see
the sign, yeah,
that whole process is very laggy on Steam Deck. Not the end of the world. I don't care. It's like an extra 2 seconds, but those are the parts that jump around on the Steam Deck. Otherwise, it runs smooth as butter. It's perfect.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, and I would just say, I tested this game on ROG Ally, and I tested it on Windows PC. Windows Play Anywhere is amazing on this game. Save data, everything, right? Don't miss a beat. I was seamlessly going between all 3 platforms with no problem. So I'm so glad a non-Game Pass game having those features. It's the future of gaming, man. Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait. I can't wait till you Towns 3 and 4. Narratively, when you start dealing more with certain person.
Oh, dude, we are performing an op. We are performing an op, and we're kind of like, we're in enemy territory is what I'll say. And I love what they're doing. The best thing you can do in a game, and I don't know why more writers don't do it, is put your villain face to face with your main character as often as you can. Stand them toe to toe. It's so important, man.
And that person is such a cunning wordsmith, and
yes,
you're gonna see some things, man. But I was expect the unexpected, but just stay tuned. You're up for a ride. I can't wait to Towns 3 specifically, but Town 4 is, I would say, peak.
Oh, he's using peak.
Yeah, Town 4 is peak. Like, because Town 4, like I told you, like they did something. I was like, what just happened? Because Town 3 made me uneasy. Like, I was getting uncomfortable. I was like,
yeah, same.
You keep putting me in uncomfortable situations, and like I told you, there's a character that I was hating on, and it was a funny situation. You know what
this game is doing a really good job of, and granted, beyond my preview of like the prologue, I have not done any sort of cover like studying of like the trailers or anything. I don't know how many party members are in this game, and I love it because this game uses so many portraits. So when people show up, I'm like, who is the next party member? Like, I got 4. I'm like, who's party member 5? So I have no clue. And I've never been in this spot because in Atlas games, when someone shows up with a portrait, it's like, all right, you're either a party member, which is usually really obvious because you actually look somewhat cool, or you're a social link. Right. And it's one or the other.
One or the other.
But because now everyone in the main story of some sort of importance has portraits, I'm like, who could it be? And I have picks in my head. There's one that I learned was not a party member, and I was Katarina. I was so sad to hear about that.
I know.
She is. It makes sense. Her social link is one of my favorites right now, but she is so cool, and obviously a callback to Catherine, right? Like the other Atlas series, obviously. And I think it would have been a brilliant move to bring her into the team. But I learned while I was playing that she is not. I was like, fuck, man. Like, she is such an awesome character. So I was bummed out about that one. That would have been my pick, but I'm still on the prowl. There's some interesting candidates. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. But, there's some candidates. There's some cool. There's one that I was bummed out in Town 2 that I really like. I know that one. There's another one in Town 2. There's another one in Town 2 that you're going to learn about as you complete the story of Town 2. And I was like, man, I like this character. Very cool. And I was like, man, but again, what you call it is it's character versus support. What was the term you used? Support, or what was it?
Like supporting character, supporting or whatever. Character?
Yeah, social link. That's what you use. Yeah, and I'm like, all right. Because it also tells a very dope story. You gonna learn that character that you talk about. What a ride that was.
Yeah.
They went crazy dark with that. And I was like, okay.
Well, I can tell just by this dude's whole demeanor, his eyes, his outfit. I'm like, this motherfucker looks cool as hell. Like, I am so interested in whatever he's got cooking. So,
very interesting ride for sure.
Yeah, so I'm loving Metaphor. It's been great. I'm very excited to get some more in my veins.
No doubt. What else you playing?
Oh, I'm playing a little Death Stranding, everybody.
Let's go. How we feeling? What's going on?
Will we have a write-in here? Dong Schnuts writes in. What's up, freshly plopped dukes? With Death Stranding 2 around the corner and Death Stranding making its way to Xbox, I think it's time you both jump in. I know COG did and fell off, but I think if either of you gave it a good chance and stuck with it, you'd finally get it. It does start as a walking sim. I get it. But it does progress past that. It's not for everyone for sure, but in my experience, the people that stick with it at least come away with a decent appreciation for the unique experience it is. There's many vehicles, crazy, over in-depth combat, good story, great music, and even good humor. There's a lot to appreciate. Peace out and have a lale lilu lalo day. All right, COG. Moment of truth here, right?
Let's get it.
Now I'm working on a video for it. I think it'll be out by the time this show's out, but if it's not, there's a process in getting here. It did drop at a perfect time. I have reached an impasse with some AAA games. Two of my favorite developers delivered 2 of my least favorite experiences of the year. That's like the fact. And then I was going through my review playlist and I was looking at just some of the fucking garbage I've had to play over the years. And I'm not trying to exaggerate, but I'm talking like Gotham Knights. I'm talking Babylon's Fall. I'm talking Gollum. Like, I've just played shit, dude. Yeah. And the AAA market has kind of been a death of a thousand cuts for me. And I think I've had a lot more patience than others, where this year, like, I snapped on Ubisoft in a game that probably people wouldn't have expected me to in Star Wars Outlaws. And I snapped on BioWare with Dragon Age, and I snapped on Bethesda with something that felt tailor-made for me with Shattered Space. And what I always heard is the sales pitch for Death Stranding was it is special because there is not a AAA game that is like this, and that is why people love it. And I guess because I was satisfied with the shit being served to me otherwise, I didn't really care about that. But as I reached this breaking point, when it got ported, there was an authentic sense of like, I think I'm ready. Like, I don't know how to put it. There was a literal mental buy-in of like, I need this experience. And if this does not deliver, this is actually going to hurt because I need something different from AAA right now. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it's been tremendous letdown after tremendous letdown. Like we've had Elden Ring, for example, Baldur's Gate 3. Like we've had amazing experiences. So I'm not downplaying those who have delivered, but it has been tough for me this year for sure. Like not woe is me tough, but just I'm accepting some differences in quality and realizing that for my own enthusiasm of the hobby, I need to start broadening my horizons even more. I need to explore indie more. And I need to give Kojima his shot again, right? Because I love Metal Gear Solid 2. I think it's some of the most thought-provoking writing in a game, but also bold. Like I love Raiden's the main character. It's a huge deal. Metal Gear Solid 3 is fantastic. Metal Gear Solid 4 never finished, but thought it was great for what I did play. And I do want to finish it one day. MGS5, I liked the least out of his work. It was really fun to play, but the story, I couldn't fucking tell you anything, bro. I put like 40 hours into it and like just kept repeating the same map. And I was like, I think I'm done. And I moved on. So, you know, I have a decent amount of Kojima experience and I just finished his book, The Creative Gene, which not in his favor. One of the worst things I think I've read because, okay, so I described it like this. I said, imagine if I wrote a book and chapter 1 was like Knights of the Old Republic. I remember picking this up at Circuit City and man, was it great. Here's why. And that was chapter 1. I didn't talk about like the inspiration it provided for me as a creator. Just like, you should check this out. Chapter 2, Death Note. I watched this thing at the top of 2023. I did not realize that this 2006 anime I was sleeping on would change my life and just how I appreciate storytelling. You should check it out.
That's it.
Yes. And it's unbelievable because I'm like, Kojima's such a fascinating mind. And all I got from this is this guy loves a lot of things. And he's a little fucking weird. Because like there was one chapter where he talked about how his first love was a movie character. Like, so when he saw on his TV screen, he's like, I fell in love with her. Like my heart raced when I was 4 when I saw her. I'm like, okay, that's whatever. Like we all have that.
Okay.
Then he's like, yeah, then I met her when I was older and like I couldn't bear to look at her because I'd seen her nude in other movies. I'm like, bro, take that out of the fucking book. What are you doing? So I'm like, all right. So I got to know this guy way too well now. So stepping into this game, I'm like, I still think this dude might just have a little too much hype behind him. And I don't get it because this book was like my attempt to like get in his brain, like
connect.
What, because what I wanted from the book, to be clear, was like, okay, you like these things. Like everyone knows you're a movie buff. What movies said to you like, and then I went and did this with Metal Gear, or then I thought of this for Metal Gear. This is what,
tissue.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want to get into that part of the process. And you don't get that. It's just like old blog posts that he made on his website from like 2007. No exaggeration. Like there's July 2007, just blog posts from his site. And he just put in the book. I'm like, this had to be the most free fucking cash ever. Nonetheless, I play this game and I'm 3 hours in and I am both bewildered and very in love.
Let's go.
I couldn't really fully describe what I experienced. It was very Kingdom Hearts-esque, which I know will make people vomit in their mouth. But Kingdom Hearts is a series I describe as when you're in the thick of it and you're playing and you're going through the story, you know what's going on. You can tell everyone. But once you leave that pocket, right, and you step outside, you come up for fresh air for like an hour and someone goes, what just happened? I'd be like, oh, the darkness and the heartless and the... and like, that's it. Like, I would just start to lose it. I feel a little bit of that with Death Stranding, though it's sticking with me. Like the names are hilarious, like Die Hard Man, Dead Man. Like, these names are wild. And followed up by someone like Emily. I'm like, okay, so the naming convention here is just wild. But this first 3 hours was a lot of cutscenes, but the amount of like really, I don't know how he directed some of these cutscenes. Like, okay, there are these invisible creatures called BTs, and they're kind of stomping around, and there's timefall, which is rain, and when it lands on you, it ages you. And I'm like, how did that happen? And then there's BB-28, which is this fucking baby that you connect to. And when you connect to him, you see Mads Mikkelsen. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck is going on? But all I know is that America has been destroyed by there has been multiple craters, and America's been destroyed by something. And you kind of get to experience that in that first hour. Like, you get to see, and you don't realize the game never conveys anything directly to you. It relies on you to like pay close attention and understand its little details. But something destroyed America, and now it's time to reconnect. And I love Sam as Norman Reedus and his kind of performance of like, it's a game about connecting with each other. And this dude is very much like, Sam, don't touch me. Like, people go up and try to shake his hand. He just looks at their hand and looks at him like, what do you think's going to happen, bro? Like, I'm not shaking your hand. Like, mom comes in for a hug. No. Yeah. And it's interesting to see him in this main role, because especially nowadays, I mean, this is kind of what I think has defined Kojima for me, is like, oh man, I played MGS2 and I got this thought-provoking commentary on a game made in like, I think 2001 about social media and the internet that feels more relevant than ever. And playing this game in a post-election world where everyone's at each other's throats and you kind of just want people to get back to like, we can see eye to eye, we can be different and appreciate one another. This game's messaging has already started to hit me in a way I didn't quite expect. I was like, wow, I'm so glad. I know I dogged on the game, but I'm so glad I waited, because it's like I just set it up. Like, the ball is up in the air and it can just spike me down into the ground. And that's what I'm hoping for. I feel like this game has a lot of potential to kind of make me think about things differently. And at the very least, like Dong Schnutz wrote in, walk away with an appreciation for what he did here. I got a little bit into the package sim delivery gameplay. And first package sim delivery was great. I was like, okay, this is a new thing, new toy. It was funny just seeing the mechanics. Like, I went too fast down the hill and I'm like, oh fuck. And I had to like hold on to my backpack and make sure I was good. Walking through the river, I'm like, okay, my endurance is going low. Then you have to deliver a body.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn. Okay, yeah. Like, this is kind of emotional. And the music that plays, I'm like, all right, coach. I was like, God damn, this is kind of a vibe, man. I can't lie. It's like, I kind of hate that I love this.
It's like you want to know what's going to happen. Yeah. You want to keep going to know what's going to happen.
I'm literally just walking forward and I'm so in right now. Then you deliver the body, right? And I'm like, man, that was some good shit. But it's not over yet. Now I got to get back. And there are these BTs. And you open up the map and they're like, this is the direct path, but it's through the BTs. This is the safer area, but you got to go down a waterfall. And I'm like, I don't trust my abilities quite yet. I don't have the tools to do that. So I'm like, let me take the direct path. So I'm like, just crouch walking around. And all of a sudden these BTs surround me and I got to hold my breath. And like, dude, Sam's endurance is fucking nuts, bro. I hold this dude's breath all the way to like, I can't hold anymore. Let go, full refill, hold again. And it's a very unique stealth experience, because I'm like kind of crawling through, right? And I'm hiding from what seems like nothing. I'm literally just like, if anyone was looking at me through like binoculars from like a mile out, they just see me like crouch walking in the middle of nowhere. It's like, yo, is this guy on drugs? But you manage to get through it. And that moment of relief when you get out, I'm like, wow, that was kind of tense. I'm like, dude, I didn't even have a package on me at that time. What if I had to like hold the packages while I'm walking through, holding my breath? Immediately the ideas came to mind, and I haven't even touched any of the new elements they added with Director's Cut that apparently had like weapons and more of the MGS style gameplay that people thought was lacking. So now I'm just like, dude, I'm kind of liking core Death Stranding before I've even touched any of the new stuff. It's a very weird game in that like I went and took a shower and I saw a promotion for like a Norman Reedus show or something. It was called Ride. And I was like, I've never heard of this thing, but now I guess I have. So there's like that built-in marketing that I'm like, this is where I say the Kojima curve exists. I'm like, this would be torn to fucking sunders if it was anyone else. Kojima. I'm like, dude, he got money for that. Like, or he got a better deal on Norman Reedus, which is money for that.
Yes.
Like, can we please call it what it is? It's okay if the game's great, which I think it is so far. But yeah, spend some time in that room. Norman's like just super interactive with the camera. Like all of a sudden the game just starts breaking the fourth wall there. Like he's like looking over his shoulder, like this, like check that out over there, right? When I'm like in the mirror, like making funny faces and taking pictures, I'm like, what is this? I said that I'm so glad I recorded my opening hours of the game to make a video of it. The amount of times I said, what the fuck is going on? It's probably, I'm actually, my new editor sent me a draft of it, and I'm just like really keen to watch it back and see how maybe annoying it is to watch, that I just constantly am like, what the hell, bro? What the hell, bro? Because I see the trailers, I have no context, right? And I play the game and I'm like, I'm going to get some sort of understanding here. And just the order in which everything's presented is crazy. But I as a movie watcher now, I really appreciate how he shoots his cutscenes. Like you see his movie, his movie sensibilities kick in there, and then he still makes a game around it. It's very different. So it's really not the smart choice, but I got to stick with it, dude. Like this is not a game I feel like I can just drop now, because I'm like so interested and invested and curious. And again, I feel like I haven't really scratched the surface, and I don't know, dude. Like I'm just I'm in. Like I'm super in. So yeah, man, I'm sorry, Kojima. I did not understand your game. I was not familiar with your game. I did not understand it. Fuck, man.
I will say you're going to get to some close quarters combat, and you see some stealth stuff kicking in. I was like, okay, I do like that. And slowly more mechanics keep getting introduced. And for me, the core gameplay was not the hook for me. To me, what was the hook? Like, okay, the storyline, it's clearly progressing to something, and I am interested enough to know where this goes. My only thing that hurt me was, again, that this is now the director's cut, and I had made, I was a couple hours in, and I was like, damn, I would have carried it over. So, but then again, in your defense, they've added so much more with this director's cut. So maybe it's like, all right, I'll give it a go. But the fact that it's Windows Play anyway is going to make me give it a shot, because this is a game I could see playing on my ROG and continuing going stuff, as opposed to playing at home. I think that's where I'm going to play this primarily. So I will give it a shot on that. But it's interesting to hear your experience, because it was kind of similar. I remember delivering the first body, and I was like, what the hell? That was kind of wild. That was kind of crazy. Like, what is going on here? It was very tense, very, what's going on and stuff like that. So yeah, let's see. But I'm with you. There's some things this man gets away with in this game that I'm like, bro, anybody else would have attempted this, they would have got dragged for doing this. And it's just like, all right. So I still feel there is a Kojima curve for certain aspects of it.
1,000%.
Bro,
yeah.
like there's anybody else could not get away with some of these things. But in his defense, it is a beautiful game. It is well directed. It's well cut. And there is this connective thread that I feel is building, and I want to know where it goes. So I will give that. So I'll reserve judgment until it's.
I have yet to experience any of like the strange shit that like makes this game special, though. That's the other thing, is like, I'm not liking it because it's just different for the sake of being different. Like that doesn't work on me, but I love how the themes are really connecting with me, with where we are at as a society, which I think is where Kojima's best writing was done and his best direction was done with Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3, like just real commentary on people and society and where they're going. And again, to think about, I'm playing this game that was in 2019, and I remember the following year, people were like, oh, look, Kojima was right. Pandemic. Like,
yes.
I remember that was like the kind of victory lap for him. Like, look how right he was immediately. Like Kojima games, watch out for them. And then we get to this moment in history, and Death Stranding just feels not real, but it feels like the words they are trying to speak through their characters and their actions is a very thoughtful commentary on our desperate need to come closer together as a people. And so I'm very stoked to lean into it more, learn more. Like, I'll see you at the beach. I'm like, what's the fucking beach, dude? What's the beach? I have ideas, I have theories based on what they have shown me, but I saw someone else at the beach, and I'm like, why was I there naked, and why were you there fully clothed, and why were you walking in the water? I don't know, bro. I don't know. I hope I come away with a full understanding of it, but it's a very interesting game, very different.
Fair enough.
So that's what I've been playing this week. All right, Cog. Time for the big news. Phil Spencer tells all in an interview with Bloomberg. There is so many places to pick at this one. So I will read the entire Bloomberg article and then kick it to you, Cog, and just get some thoughts on whatever talking point you want to tackle first. After a tough year, Microsoft Corp's video gaming chief is still looking at acquisitions and charting how to compete and partner in markets for handheld gaming devices and mobile stores. Deals that add geographic diversity, including Asia, might be worthwhile, Phil Spencer said in an interview Tuesday at Bloomberg's offices in New York. Buying another mobile company would add to titles Microsoft picked up in the $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard last year, he said. We definitely want to be in the market, and when we can find teams and technology and capability that add to what we're trying to do in gaming at Microsoft, absolutely we will keep our heads up, Spencer said. Still, there's nothing imminent, and very large deals are probably off the table at present as the company is spending a lot of time absorbing Activision Blizzard employees, he said. Microsoft wants to diversify the teams working on games by looking more to China, he said. The company developed a new mobile version of Age of Empires, a world-building franchise that first appeared in the 1990s by partnering with Tencent. Microsoft and Tencent released the game globally in October. It's been a good area for us to learn from creative teams that have real unique capabilities, Spencer said. The real opportunity is to partner with creative teams in China for global. The executive, who has repeatedly professed his admiration for handheld game devices, said the expectation is that we would do something in that category. Although the company is working on prototypes and considering what it might do, Spencer also asked his group to look at the market and develop its vision based on what it learns. Such a device is a few years out, he said. Few probably being like 3. Keep that in mind. We'll talk later. In the coming months, designers and engineers will focus on making the Xbox app work better on existing portable devices and partnering with hardware makers to make sure their products sync with Xbox games and experiences, he said. The Xbox app right now is good rather than great on some of these gadgets, he said. Long term, I love us building devices, Spencer said, and I think our team could do some real innovative work, but we want to be informed by learning and what's happening now. The company's planned online store for mobile games has been delayed as the group does additional research on the market, Spencer said. Xbox President Sarah Bond has announced the store in May with a planned release of July, but staffers are still talking to mobile developers, including those responsible for Microsoft-owned Candy Crush and Call of Duty Mobile, to figure out the plan. As regulatory cases involving Apple and Android mobile stores work their way through courts in various countries, Microsoft still doesn't have an efficient way to get its own store on mobile phones. So a web store would mean somebody doesn't have to go into the App Store to try to install something, but you have to have a way to find the store, Spencer said. If we're just hoping like we build it and they will come, I'm going to bet that doesn't work. That means Xbox has to make its store unique for players and figure out what will draw content creators. At the same time, it's preparing for a world where Apple and Google mobile devices are more open to Xbox. I think the ball is moving in the right direction, Spencer said. I think the idea of open platforms where users have more choice, creators have more choice, you see the momentum, right? After first releasing the batch of Xbox games for PlayStation and Switch, Spencer is pleased with the results. Microsoft will do more of that, he said, and won't rule out any game in Microsoft's stable. I do not see any sort of red lines in our portfolio that say, thou must not, he said. It's too early to make any sort of decision on the next version of Halo, he said. Following the Activision acquisition, Xbox cut more than 2,500 jobs and closed 3 game design studios. With the company exiting what management calls a difficult year amid a challenging mobile game market, Spencer feels good about 2025. The Xbox business has never been more healthy, he said, citing growth in cloud and PC gaming as well as console usage. The business is performing right now, and I think that means a more healthy future for hardware and the games we build. Spencer said he also feels optimistic about the growth of mobile games. I feel pretty good about where the industry is going, he said. To reach new players, we need to be creative and adaptive of new business models, new devices, new ways of access. We're not going to grow the market with $1,000 consoles. Little shot there at the end. Mm-hmm. All right, Cog, wherever you want to pick up. Any spot, pick a spot.
Lot to parse. He's outside, he's talking. Yeah, let's start with acquisition talk. Not surprised. I do think that as the expressing of the block is still hot as far as any type thing big I still think they are on a timeout with that, especially with absorbing ABK and everything that involves with that. As far as the China part, I thought that was interesting. I told people Age of Empires is huge. I know us gamers, hardcore, don't necessarily care for that, but it is a huge Chinese franchise. Also, remember I told a lot of people StarCraft, don't sleep on the StarCraft acquisition, getting that in the Game Pass, making it appealing. Again, PC market centric. They want to grow there. Tencent thing is kind of interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm gonna be honest. Don't know how I feel about that. I understand that it's kind of like you working with the necessary evil because they probably control a lot of that market. I get that. I'm just curious to the extent of said partnerships and relationship. But that's just me being with a little side eye, just to be fair. You know what I mean? But what else? The mobile. The mobile is actually surprising to me because it's like, I get it. This is a tough market to navigate, and you have to integrate correctly. I do agree with the part where it's like, okay, you just can't throw it up and say, go ahead, it's finished, go get it. It has to be done in an intelligent way where there is a storefront and people are going to access it. The question is how. And I think the problem they seem to be having is they don't want to do web per se. They want to and they do realize that Google and Apple kind of have a lock on that market. So the vibe I'm getting is the hope of the walls coming down with the court process, and to see what happens there, and then to see if they can integrate that way and kind of knock two birds out with one stone, being able to just be there, right, and kind of thing. So that's going to be something developed, because it was something that they did promise in May, and it never happened, right? And for our understanding, this is a huge reason why they did the deal, because they want to really penetrate that mobile market and get the revenue off of Candy Crush and Call of Duty Mobile. So I thought that was interesting that they seem to be taking a more measured approach with that, when I know that there's a lot of potential for huge financial growth, but it seems they want to do it right, which I kind of understand. I do kind of understand it, but I was surprised that it's not here. Like, it's still not finalized yet. So that's that. Now let's get to the heavyweight stuff. Handheld. This is how I internalize it. All right, first, yes, we are very happy that you are building it. We are very happy that you are thinking about this market. I love the fact that the Xbox-centric UI thing is a big deal. The few years out part is going to where everybody's focusing on, and I get it. Look, if it's 2-3 years from now, I'm going to be a little disappointed it's going to wait so long. And my main concern is what me and you talked about, Matty. Look, I want the best possible product, but I also understand that you have a competitor that you cannot allow to be before you. You just can't. You can't allow PlayStation to enter that space. We know Nintendo's coming. That's inevitable. They have their market. But if you want to talk about that high performant, I don't want to categorize every Nintendo Switch person as a kid, but it's fair to say they're a more youthful market. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to what we consider, I guess, the teens to the olders. The
handheld PC market, a little bit older.
Right. So the key for me, though, the positive of waiting is, advancements in chipsets, advances in memory, it's going to be lit. So you will outperform your competitors. My only caution is like, man, you can't wait too long, because if PlayStation wakes up tomorrow and says, we're announcing the PS blah, blah, blah. Oh, boy. You can't have them first. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to make a guess that even though it says a few years, this is corporate speak for few being on the less of the few and giving themselves a window. I'm still going to probably stick to my prediction that you will get an announcement in a year, but maybe it is 2026, 2027. I would be shocked if I'm wrong that they like, hey, 2028 or something. I would be shocked if that's the case, because I think that is way too long. And to me, he's been speaking about it so much. To me, this is corporate speak for trying to give yourself a little leeway if there's a snag here, but you don't want to give your competitor a hand. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? It's on that. And then the last part was it was one other part. We talked to Google. We talked
the red line with exclusives.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. No surprise here. If you've been listening to the Dukes, you know damn well everything is on the table. We ain't fooled, right? I did find it interesting he mentioned the red line, because remember there was a report of people who was coming out before saying, oh yeah, Microsoft has internally said, they've talked it over. They're not going to do core franchise. He's like, whatever you thought you heard, everything's on the table. But so this is how I get it. And I'm still going to stick with this one. Everything is on the table. My thought process, though, is they still don't know what they're doing. Not that they don't know what they're doing. they don't have a concrete plan on what it is. To me, this is still fluid because yes, you want to tell everybody, hey, we like what we did. We put things everywhere else. And you are seeing active user engagement through the roof. I get that. Overall, as a company, the Xbox business is doing well. That's a fact as far as the strategy. And they may be clairvoyant with this whole strategy, as we talked about. I'm always going to push back at him in terms of core identity. I don't care what he said. Like, when it comes to core identity, you better be careful. That's all I'm saying. Because at some point, what's the value of your ecosystem if what made you who you are is everywhere else? That I will, and it's not about COG is selfish and COG doesn't want gaming to make money. No, I'm not saying that. Look, ABK, Bethesda, I get that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm just talking about the core stuff, the Halos, the Gears, the Forza. That's what made you you. So I will always push back on that to an extent. And I feel that those do need to be protected. But I'm not mad if Indiana Jones, I'm not mad if Call of Duty go. I'm not mad at that. That's that. So that's where I will just push a little bit. And the final thing is, I like the fact, I will say this. It's huge that he said we're not going to grow a market with $1,000 consoles. Because to me, I have to look at what's going on right now. PS5 Pro, the state of console, and people are fearful they were getting out of the hardware business. So what that shows me are they're still willing to subsidize and take a loss. And that is important in this climate, especially not to get too political with rumors of tariffs of coming, right? Yeah. And we shout out to Colin, shout out to Hogue. I watched their fantastic episode of Sacred Plus about obviously the current presidency, what could happen in the current climate and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And I think this is all information that gamers need to know, because if the philosophy of the current presidency is to say, hey, we don't want to be important and we want to be America strong and we want to do tariffs, then this is something who's gonna incur that cost? Because certain certain people ain't gonna want it. They're gonna be like, oh, guess what, consumer, that's you. So when I hear Phil say that now in this current date, when we have the presidency decided now, right? That's a big statement right there to say, hey, we're not going to grow the market with $1,000 cost. So that I have to infer that Microsoft understands that we have to take that hit on that to get it into a price. And this includes, I'm assuming, mobile, handhelds, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, and also consoles. I like that part. So we'll see. Maybe wishful thinking on my part, but I think it's very interesting that he said that. So yeah, that's where I'm at. A lot to parse there. I'm curious what you think on all the different categories he went.
First thought on my head, it's out of order, but I think with the timeline and everything of the handheld, it makes sense that this is probably going to be, if they started their generation early, this will probably be the kind of Series S component of that generation, which would line up. I mean, we've heard rumors of 2026, right? So I don't know, man. I mean, if you see it then alongside a new console, definitely changes the outlook of like why it's a few years. So I feel like we need to look at it in that bubble. Otherwise, though, I mean, you definitely said everything I felt when it comes to the handheld. I think they are on a timer, and this market is settling a bit now. Like, there's enough options out there, from cloud tech with Logitech to strong OLED screens with PC capability and ASUS to in the middle with Steam Deck that's like really optimized, and you have your whole library there. PS Portal's there if you really want to go all Apple and just be like, hey, I have my PS5 and I have my streaming device for my PS5 and I'm good with all of that.
It's doing well.
Yeah, it's doing well, right? And the Switch is coming up soon with the new entry. So there's a lot of like, I've got my handheld, and I don't think Xbox can afford. I'm gonna be honest, dude. I thought this was coming next year, maybe. And I don't think. And I don't blame Xbox for that. This is my own prediction. Taking that out of the equation, I don't think they can afford to wait much longer, because especially if PlayStation goes, most people have a home. And I think we have had very good competition in this handheld market. Everyone's taken their own approach, right? Like when ASUS showed up, I was like, oh, this is a legit handheld PC. Just got Windows on it. Like, this is a different beast from Steam Deck, which is like, here's Linux and like, here's a Steam OS, and like, this is how we're doing things over here. But you got your library of games there, and it's all kind of seamlessly integrated. And we're going to verify these games, and you can still mod these games. So each one brought its own flavor to the table. PlayStation obviously leans the idea of like, stream your PlayStation games to this OLED screen with a DualSense capability in the palm of your hands. Kind of cool. Logitech G Cloud kind of broke the ground first and got torched for it, but I think they still have one of the best cloud streaming devices out there. The battery life on these things are ridiculous. You'll never run out of battery in a single session. Granted, it's a cloud device, but I mean, even if it's like the screen's great, the form factor is great, I think it's a super underrated device if you can especially get it on a deal. So I just look around and I'm like, these options are there. And Xbox coming in last, the worst thing they can do is come in last. Not because, the market settled, but because they look like the followers, which is why we said that you can't go behind PlayStation. After PlayStation. Because if PlayStation goes, then even if Xbox has been cooking and they show up with a great feature set, I mean, look at the Series X objectively. People are not going to like to say, but look at the Series X objectively. Game Pass, smart delivery, good exclusives. It's got enough boxes checked, comparatively speaking, the Xbox One. They've stepped on a lot of rakes this gen. But objectively speaking, pulling out of all the zeitgeist, the business updates, all this crap, leading into 2024, I think Xbox checked enough boxes to be like, this is a good console to own, right? And they still struggle to sell units. We see that. That's in the data. So what's going to change if they're the last to enter the handheld market? Nothing. Nothing will change. It will continue the status quo. They need to be ahead. If they want to have a moment to have impact, they can still do it. I encourage them to do it. I want an Xbox handheld. But outside of being a novelty purchase for people like, ooh, the newest handheld, and ooh, it's Xbox. They either need to blow the feature set out of the water, which I think they can do, by the way. My prediction has always been it's not just going to be your Xbox handheld. They're going to bring Steam in. They're going to bring Epic in. They're going to promise other platform holders coming in. Like, I think they're going to go for it. I do think they're going to embrace that. That's going to be their moment, because if it's alongside the next gen system, again, I think that is going to be not just like your home console for Xbox games. It's your home gaming console, as in go get your other game libraries on this. And I think that is their long-term vision. And that is something that will excite people if it's announced in tandem with all of that. But if it's just like, here's your Xbox handheld, have fun. And PlayStation's already gone ahead of you, I expect this thing to not do super well. Because again, it's not like we're starving for good options. There are already great price-friendly options out there. So those are my bars on the handheld. I think it's especially frustrating reading like, well, we want to optimize the Xbox app first. Because COG, what has been complaint number one from our Duke brethren and sisters with the write-ins since the show started?
Horrible.
Has been that this app has been terrible.
Been terrible. I'm not going to. Sorry. I got to get a quick bar in it, which is that case in point. You know, one of the main reasons why I won't finish Still Wakes the Deep, I want to play that on the Xbox app and the home. There's a bug right now, right? That in first person mode, the sensitivity, while I'm walking down the hallway trying to run from scary things, the camera will just switch, like my analog got touched or something. And I'm like, yo, I brought the sensitivity down. I've done all this thing. Meanwhile, the Steam one gets updated. I go to the forums. It is a known bug. And they were like, well, it's on the Xbox app. Good luck with whenever they're going to get an update. To me, it's just, they're so happy to just put the game on it and then run away like they did their job. No, fam, like there's still issues here. And I'm the person, like I told you, through my Xbox Insider app program, I'm the person that's giving feedback. And that app need work. Like even the compact mode, it's still not enough. One of my biggest pet peeves, I just want to log on and show me a list of all the games that I actually own on the damn thing. Yeah. Why do I got to go through submains and check a box and do all this just to show it? It doesn't display as beautifully and as intuitively as a Steam Deck UI. Mm-hmm. There are still light years away from that. So I got to give them smoke for that app. Like it's been a while. I get it. You've acquired all these companies and your resources. If your goal is mobile and handheld and all this active user, fix that experience, because that's where you want these new players to be. Yeah. So that's just me. Yeah. Continue. I had to get my bars off with my hating rant on the Xbox app sometimes.
It's just frustrating to read. This thing that's been a known problem for a while might be the very reason things are actually held up. Like, that is just not acceptable. I'm sorry. It's just not that they're addressing and saying that we're addressing that. You've worked with two partners now. You worked with Logitech and made sure Xbox was the focus on that handheld. And you were big time tied to ASUS. What more did you need to know that this app was not acceptable? What more did you need to research? It just feels like corporate speak for like, we kicked the can down the road, hope people would accept it, and they haven't. So we have to change it now. It's been in desperate need of a rework. And I think it's because it's so closely synchronized with their mobile plans that we will not see this app until this mobile store thing is a reality. That's my prediction on that. The mobile store getting delayed is significant because that's a big part of their future revenue plans. Like they bought Activision for two things. I think it was Call of Duty and Candy Crush. And Candy Crush is 100% going to lead that charge on that Microsoft mobile store because their goal is much more broad than, say, like a Square Enix where they're making like Octopath Champions of the Continent. It's like they're trying to make not just a mobile game, but a storefront and pretty much do what they did on PC. Like, we're here, you can buy your games here, we're going to take a piece of that pie. And now they want that on mobile. And that's a very ambitious goal to have. So that being delayed is significant because I feel like that could have some level of long-term financial repercussions if it's not ironed out sooner. But they seem like they're researching that too, which I get. That's like, okay, take a measured approach. We're launching the whole storefront. Like, take your time, right? I don't know if anyone in core gaming or even mobile gaming is really clamoring for it right now, especially since where does your storefront find a place with current like restrictions for both iOS and Android? So I don't really look too crazy at that as well as the acquisition thing. We already had our talks with Hogue.
Yeah.
Xbox is emboldened. They beat the FTC, getting the big fish. They'll go out and get someone big at some point, I think. Give them time to integrate Activision Blizzard. I don't know when it happens. Obviously, these things move quick. We saw how fast, based on the timeline. I think Phil reached out in like September, close to October, about Activision. They announced the acquisition like a couple months later. So, or the intent to acquire, I should say. So these things move fast. So it could drop at any moment. But I expected, like you did, Cog, after Activision was fully integrated, that there'd be a breathing period, right? Like, block is still hot is a good way of putting it. But I do think they want to go now if their intent is to grow. And like they mentioned in the article, it's going to be whoever has mobile game capability, because that's like that's their unaddressed piece of the pie. Like, what fortifies us there? So I feel like their next acquisition, unless it's like a Square Enix where it's like we have these AAA games, but also they have this mobile gaming department, I feel like it might not be exciting for people, truly. I feel like they might be in their PlayStation era now of like, let's buy these no-name companies like a Nixxes for PC ports. And like, that is significant over time. But at first, people were like, this is not like, where's the big one? Like a Bungie, right? Like, right. I think Xbox's days of buying AAA single player developers are over. Like, I don't think they have any reason to do that anymore. You have, especially now with Activision in the fold, you have so many. Like, you're so covered, but with so many genres and so much talent, like, you realistically outside, especially you're not even including third-party partners. You shouldn't need a single other developer right now in the terms of single player AAA output. So I think they're just going to go address deficiencies. Maybe I would say maybe they go for a Japanese team, but we see what happened with Tango, right? That language barrier was too much for them to overcome. So they're exploring it differently in China, which is actually a perfect way to connect the dot between what I was saying with the handheld. China was a region that Xbox was famously late on. With what game? Genshin Impact. Guess who got it first? PlayStation. Guess what game's insanely viral? Genshin. And now the Hoyoverse. Xbox recognized that late, and then now we have Zenless Zone Zero coming to Xbox a lot sooner. It's still delayed, but Xbox realized that. And that's what I worry, is they're always a little half step behind because they're kind of gingerly stepping around like, I don't know. And you missed the boat on Genshin. You missed the boat on Black Myth Wukong. At least as it stands with this episode, because it seems like something's incoming for an Xbox port soon.
Yes, correct.
So I just feel like them missing the boat is a trend. So them going to China is good news because they're done missing the boat. And we'll see what comes of that, because you can't ignore that, globally speaking, PlayStation made probably one of their most monster deals of the year by getting a Black Myth Wukong, because it wasn't about the US performance, which sold okay. It was, and people, I think, misconstrued those numbers constantly. I didn't really see much buzz in the US. It was, people in the US were talking about it, but it was about the people who were buying it were in China. So Xbox saw that and was like, that's global growth that we're missing. So that's huge. But of course, we'll get to the hot topic, right? No red lines. We got to write in. Not John Cena writes in. My Duke brethren, in a recent interview with Bloomberg, Phil not only confirmed the handheld, but also that there are no red lines pertaining to exclusive titles going to PlayStation. How are we feeling about this? Personally, the only reason I continue to buy select games on Xbox as opposed to PlayStation is due to the handheld and being able to take my games on the go. Game Pass is not important enough for me to make it my primary platform to play on, but the handheld would change that. I think Xbox is playing a very dangerous game because if PlayStation beats them to the punch with the handheld, it's over in my eyes. Sorry to doom and gloom, bros, but this is honestly a shame as Xbox will no longer have that identity that we've loved since the OG Xbox. We finally got good games after staying down only to give them away kind of day. Meanwhile, X-Flea writes in, hey Dukes, with Death Stranding shadow dropping on Xbox, I have a somewhat broader question to ask, and I'm sure Cog will know where I'm going. SEGA is having great success, and one of the key reasons they've mentioned is simultaneous multi-platform approach. Square Enix, namely Yoshi P, mentions that they'll have more multi-platform games, specifically naming Xbox in that strategy. Sony is releasing Lego Horizon day and date on the Switch and PC, while also their PC releases are getting shorter and shorter to inevitably day and date, with Spider-Man 2 roughly 15 months after the console release. I say all this to ask, would it be too soon to say Phil Spencer was potentially right? Apologies for this being a bit long, but thanks and have a great day. No worries at all, X-Fleet. Thank you for writing in. Thank you, John Cena, for writing in. So, yeah, like Cobb kind of got the opening line perfectly, right? If you listen to this show, we've never budged on this topic once. Like, so, I know we don't typically flip-flop on our opinions. Like, we're pretty hard and fast about that. But with this one, I know for a fact we were like, day one, this is not just these 4 games, right? So the no red lines, really, if you track Xbox, right? In June, Phil literally tried to, it was actually kind of funny when you watch the clip, because Ryan McCaffrey was interviewing him. He's like, what's going on with these Xbox exclusives? And Phil's like, in the middle of, oh, by the way, we're going to do more of that. Like, we're going to bring more of these over. Like, we're excited about that. And Ryan's reaction was like, oh, right. Like, he was just like, damn, okay. Like, he just threw it out there. Like, it was a feeler. Gamescom comes around. Obviously, our hot topic that week. What was it? We sat there in a Microsoft lounge, no less, to talk about, we got one more thing for you. Coming 2025, Indiana Jones, PlayStation 5. Aren't you excited, Xbox fans? So I feel the writing has been so plainly on the wall that anyone who sees this and goes, what? Was either denying reality itself or just ignoring the facts, which are one and the same, I think. But so many people tried to paint the Dukes and many other legitimate Xbox voices as just negative for saying this was the case. But now Phil has tripled down on it, quadrupled down on it, really, if you include the business update. Has the strategy accelerated from what he said in April, where he was like, it's just these 4 games, we're going to see what's going on? Absolutely. It's flipped on its fucking head. But everyone knew in that moment, you cannot bring one single game over to PlayStation and act like it doesn't do 2 things. 1, brings every future exclusive into question. It was already happening with Blade just by marketing, right? Blade, they were like, no real exclusivity, no Xbox logo. Everyone's like, what the fuck's going on here, right? That was really the start of it. Like, why? Now we look at a Blade trailer and be like, of course there's no Xbox logo, right? So that's number 1. Number 2 is Xbox had to know this instantaneously, especially to make a podcast about it, by the way, instantaneously devalues our console's appeal a tremendous amount in the short term. We'll see long term how it plays out, but in the short term, we are putting a bullet in our heads. They knew these 2 things as they went out and announced these 4 games. To act like there was no chance in hell that they weren't looking at all their other successful games and thinking, can we bring these over, is ludicrous to me. So looking at this, I am not surprised at all. Now, was Phil Spencer right? I will admit, there's been a dramatic shift in third-party support over this year. And I will give my co-host his roses, who said, I don't know, might be the future. For me, I still feel like you need that console brand identity. But the fact that he could not even confirm, which I know people are like, what's years away? The fact that he could not sit there and confirm to all of us, Halo, the Xbox franchise, the definition of Xbox, it's too early to tell if this is going to PlayStation. We fucking know it's going to PlayStation. We know. He just knows that the plan needs to be, it needs some legs. You need to keep going a little bit further, have a couple more, wow, holy shit, they did it again moments where you have your Indiana Jones maybe 2 more times. Then it's the norm. Then it's like, Because, dude, the reality is this news 7 months ago sets the internet on fire. This news today, I saw it on Twitter, people were like, so I keep my PlayStation. Got it. And that's the difference. And I think that's almost worse for Xbox because the passion, the fire is gone. It's gone. It's all indifference now. Or, well, I already have an Xbox, so fuck it. Like, I'll play whatever exclusives are there on Game Pass, I guess. Like, indifference is, I always say, indifference is worse than rage. You want rage because at least people give a fuck. The fact that people were not like flipping tables over this speaks to where Xbox as a brand is at. And that's not dooming. That's just fucking reality, man. I think them walking away from the exclusive strategy is very bold. And I think there are third-party developers supporting the idea of, hey, by going everywhere, we're going to make more money. But I do think part of it is a lot of third parties underestimating PC's importance less than the Xbox console. PC, you have to be there. There's like 40 plus million people there that you can serve on Steam alone. Like, you just can't miss that. That's way too many consumers to miss.
35 is kind of nice too. 35 with 40.
Yeah. Was it 35?
I don't know. I forgot what the Xbox console numbers are. I'm just making it up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you meant for Steam. I was going to say, my bad if I ride that.
No, Steam, you may be right there. I'm just saying that whatever the Steam number in addition to the Xbox number.
Yes. Yeah, dude. I mean,
it's a nice two-piece.
To Phil's defense, right? If you're a third-party partner and you're looking at PC, you're making a PlayStation exclusive deal, you know there's like an install base of 40 million. And then you look at PC and Xbox combined, and we'll say that's like 60 million. You're like, look how much, if we sold to 1 million of these people for $60 a piece, how much we are leaving on the table. We cannot do that anymore. However, I think there's a different obligation from platform holders that I'm still wrestling with. And that's that your identity is your exclusives, right? Like, even Valve to a degree, like Half-Life Alyx VR has not left the building yet. You know, I look at that. Granted, Half-Life 1, 2, Portal, Left 4 Dead have come to Xbox. Like, they've made their rounds. Don't get me wrong, eventually. But these are still like Valve defined games. Like, there's still a brand identity there where it's like, yeah, you can go play it on Xbox, but you get all the mods on Valve.
Right.
And Xbox is missing, I think, that element of like identity. And that's where they feel the most lost. Like, it definitely lies in a Halo. It definitely lies in a Gears right now, at least, because that's just what people remember. And I think it's difficult to run away from that. And since they're not so aggressively going to like Elder Scrolls 6 is ours,
right? You
kind of have to lean on people's nostalgia and memories to reestablish your brand identity.
Right.
So again, I'm kind of in the middle on like, I never, to XFlea's point, I do think Phil had a good point, and I'll concede that. But I do think for platform holders, I have my concerns about them trying to knock down every barrier and all of them just looking the same eventually. And like, what's the identity? Where do I set, outside of like eventually nostalgia, like, oh, I grew up with a PlayStation. I guess I'll buy this one. It does the same thing as my Xbox. That's where I struggle a little bit. And I think exclusives define that in a way that makes these businesses worth existing. Right. So yeah, the red line comment was interesting because they're not hiding it. They're admitting it. They're making it.
It's outside.
The thing is here's the best thing about this interview. We are not guessing. We are not guessing. Good communication, Phil.
Oh, that is good.
We are not guessing. You were matter of fact about every fucking thing here. And that is what fans have wanted from you guys for ages. You aren't going to do exclusives. Got it. All I wanted to know was that. Got it. There's no red line, or I shouldn't say you're not going to do exclusives. There's no red line as in anything can come over. Got it. As a PlayStation owner, cool. I know now I can size up exclusives if I really wanted to. Be like, Starfield looking kind of nice on Xbox, but I could wait for the Platinum Trophy. That's probably something Colin would say, but I'm saying like just as an idea, like this is stuff that people just want to know. Oh, you're doing a handheld. Cool. Keep an open mind. Thank you for not being so cagey about it. There is such a thing as too much talking, but I think giving some needed answers on these subjects was desperately required. And so I'm happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, if you finish, I thought, like I said, we needed the clarity on that. I've always been on them. Like, what after the 4? What does that mean? For people who are invested in the ecosystem, they do need to hear that. So when I hear, I do not see sort of red lines on our portfolio that thou must not, right? That means, he said it's too early to make any type of decision on the next version of Halo. Everything's on the table, right? Everything's on the table. Now, I do feel there's a bit of coyness there, but I do feel at least there's transparency that at any point something can happen. To the overall thing, we have to admit they are healthy right now. You know what I'm saying? From a revenue standpoint. And if we want to look at it from the standpoint of, is Xbox as a brand doing better than it was during the Xbox One era? Yes, the answer is yes. As far as revenue and stuff like that. Now, the question becomes the hardware. And I get that. When you see the hardware losses that they are incurring, it's pretty scary for a person who loves the platform or who is just a console owner. Yeah. That is a scary proposition, right? Then I looked at, I believe, was it PlayStation's financials recently? Mm-hmm. And I saw their hardware down. I was a little surprised by that. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to try to have an open mind about. Even though selfishly, I am the console user. That is my primary entry point. Yes, I play on PC sometimes. Yes, I play on mobile sometimes. But console is my primary entry point. The only thing I have to say is this, and this is something that it hurts me to say it, but I remember where I was when Xbox through the Xbox One era said, yo, from now on, all our games day and date PC. The internet blew up. Mm-hmm. What the hell are y'all doing? This is no longer exclusive. Why are they getting what we're getting? They don't pay for internet. It was a thing, right? And at the time, everybody was, hey, what's going on? Now we look at what's happening. Now we look at the revenue. Now we look at what your competitors are doing the same. Maybe and the window is shorting. So again, is it a situation that because of how emotionally tied we are to consoles, that this ends up being the right decision? I think there are some early little tea leaves that maybe this actually is right. And I think they are, to your point, I think they're skirting this because they know that's what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. And it's a matter of easing it in until it's the norm. And then when it's the norm, then they can say, you see, this is what happens. And look, it's the way you do things, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. And again, the jury is out on the console portion and the exclusive portion of your core franchises and how that works. I do, as much as I don't like that stuff, and I'm always going to be not against you surviving. I'm not against you making the most revenue you ever made. All I care about is a brand that I love having an identity and making it viable to be a choice to someone on the fence between another ecosystem, right? That's where I'm at. So we'll see. I will say, though, the thing that I have to give Phil credit is this. When I see more developers come out and say we are not taking a PlayStation exclusive bag and we need to be everywhere, that defends his strategy.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. So it's early. We'll see how it continues. And the key also will be, I'm going to look at Sony's second party. I know this is an Xbox podcast, but I want to look at Sony's second party specifically. Like, if you help fund the game and all that, you know what I'm saying? Okay, fine. But I have to admit, bro, the Kojima thing was surprising to me.
Yeah.
It really blew me away. I thought that was a logical marriage. They have history. They grew together, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and the Kojima to be like, I need to get a movie coming out and I got two, and the days of me locking myself to you. You know what it reminds me? It reminds me of like Grand Theft Auto and Strauss Zelnick telling Xbox like, yeah, I don't see Game Pass working for us. Yeah. We make too much. We need to be everywhere. We need to max. The number you giving me could not equal what I could potentially make. That's what this reminds me of. And if more companies like a Kojima and like Square Enix and like Pearl Abyss, and if we start seeing more of that with Sony's second party and stuff like that, and these deals becoming less and less of the norm, then he's right. And I will have to bend the knee and be like, even though I was against it.
Yeah.
Look like where it's going. So we'll see. The jury's out. It's early, but interesting comments.
Yeah, I will say this. Compared to where I was like 7 months ago, part of it's acceptance, but part of it's also like, I'm seeing the viability is more to it. It's like, okay, this is not just you guys. Other developers are seeing this as a necessity. With exclusives, I feel like you're knocking down all the walls for growth, as they're calling it. It's like, where does the growth end? Like, how many screens is enough? How many consumers is enough? That sort of thing. So I will say this as like an indie developer, like what Xbox is doing, where they're like, hey, like we can fund you basically, but you can go multi-plat, is like an indie dev's wet dream. So it's like, like, oh, I get to work with you. You get the big bag of Microsoft cash and we don't have to be exclusive, and we can go everywhere. Got it. You know, like that is huge, and that is understated a little bit as part of their multi-platform. Is it's not just the big dogs, it's the little ones too, man. And like that's I have to pay attention to this stuff myself because we're seeking funding very fucking soon, and we're like, where are we going to go? And I mean, I'll be real, Xbox is on that fucking list of people we want to pitch to. Of course they are. It's like they got a good thing going financially and business wise, and their indie program is well regarded. It's like, of course. And so I think people look at it, myself included, by the way, very guilty of this big picture, big AAA, but how this affects like ID and Xbox is not talked about enough. And it's really important to consider because these are where, like, dude,
that's where the creativity is.
This is where the creativity goes, but this is also where big developers are going now, right? Like, I've been working on a video for this company, about this company, Archetype Entertainment, and they're a internal Wizards of the Coast studio, right? This is where James Olin, lead designer of KOTOR, and Drew Karpyshyn, the lead writer of KOTOR, Empire, Mass Effect, went to go work and lead this team. And they're building a very Mass Effect coded game with Matthew McConaughey in it about time dilation. It's like Interstellar, the RPG. It's really fascinating stuff. And this is great. This is not AA or indie or anything like that, but these are big developers leaving the corporate world and going to a place where I watched all of their Q&As, and one thing they mentioned in every single one of them, creative freedom. It's so important to recognize how constricting the environment's got. And that while Xbox's plan, as you just heard me bitch and moan a little bit ago, is easy to fight against, it's also really important to recognize what it's doing for the lifeblood of the industry and keeping creativity hopefully alive. We'll see in the years to come how it plays out. But getting multi-plat, getting these bigger developers into independent firms, like it's not just a one-off story with Archetype. I mean, there's dozens we've covered over the years. So many. Like that is the new wave. Not everyone does what Hideaki Itsuno does, which jumps from one massive AAA conglomerate to another, right? It's like exceedingly rare. So a lot of going independent. And I will say, as an independent developer myself, I do look at what Xbox does and I'm like, well, on the business side, like there is a clear benefit to this that I might be on the receiving, not working with Xbox, but just I may be on the receiving end of for multi-plat focus, that I don't have to make that choice, which I don't want to, because that's where it becomes real. Sorry, last thing I'll say. That's where it becomes real is I think about my game. Like if someone asks me, like, do you want your game to be exclusive? It's like, no, I want as many people as they can to play. And I'm like, fuck. Like we spend so much time on it. I'm like, I get it. It's like so appealing as a consumer. But when you're making a thing, you're like, I want everyone to have the chance to see this. We've spent so long on it. So that's opened my eyes a little bit. But sorry, I've been going on.
No, that's what I was going to lean in to add on to your point. I just look at my beloved game this year, Kunitsigami, Path of the Goddess. Me, Hogue, and Colin just did a SEGA Symbols Plus on it. And even Colin had admit, like, and I was going to say it before, he already had it because Colin's so damn prepared. He had the information before I could even spend it, which was like, Xbox helped. They got a Game Pass bag. It was different from anything else. It was to help the development of the funding of the game. Yeah. And allow them to Game Pass and allow it to be multi-plat. Yeah. That game would not have come out. Think about how unique and how much I rave and rant about that game. In this climate, that game would not allow to be come out. You're making what they call it a Kaguru style game. And the genre doesn't even exist. You know what I'm saying? And they just made it. So again, these are the creative ways to kind of implement that and to help game development. When you talked about obviously the circle of life and people wanting creative freedom and creating their studios and stuff like that, it is interesting, man. So those are things that I agree, like probably they don't get enough credit for. And I personally like that aspect because I agree with you. To me, what you guys are doing with your game, I love, to me, the most creativity comes from the independent game scene. That's why I love it the most. And to me, no disrespect, there's a lot of trend catching, wave chasing, people making safe decisions because in defense of AAA space, it's so damn expensive. You don't want to take a risk on a flop. You make the wrong decision. How many studios be like, oh, we're sad to report that, blah, blah, blah studio has
it's a tough day its doors.
It's a tough day. And you get the font with the Twitter thing in that image. You know how it go. Yep. Are effective immediately. Our doors will be. We want to thank all the millions of players that gave us a chance.
Severance packages informed by local laws.
Bro, how many times have we reported on that? So yeah, it is interesting. So obviously, I'm willing to be open-minded. I'm with you though. I'm always going to fight for identity though. I'm never gonna. They're going to get. I'm gonna get on your nerves. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get on your nerves with that. I'm always gonna say, fight for your spirit, fight for your essence.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with the rest of the industry and where it goes.
Any extra thoughts on this big interview here with Phil Spencer? Anything come to mind?
Like I said, I just want to give kudos to the $1,000 console line. Especially in this climate where we're uncertain about video game hardware pricing. And I like that. I like that they understand the importance of being in the correct model. Because if anything, that gave me a little bit more confidence that they are not willing to throw away hardware just yet, at least for one more generation. We ain't willing to go there. So that gives me a little hope there.
Right on. Well, good talk there. Very excited to see what people think about the news in the comments. So be sure to leave us your feedback as we move on to our last bit of news for the show and then our Game Pass pick of the week. This comes from Inverse, and it is about Bethesda going on strike, the biggest video game union, by the way. Hundreds of Bethesda video game workers who work on titles like 76 and Elder Scrolls are going on strike across the country. Workers in Maryland and Texas are walking off the job, claiming the company has failed to address their remote work concerns at the bargaining table and has begun outsourcing quality assurance or QA work without the union's agreement. Bethesda ZeniMax, which Microsoft bought in 2021 for $7.5 billion, has been home to the nation's largest video game union starting in January 2023 and attracting more than 300 quality assurance workers. While the union has been reluctant to share bargaining updates and said that Microsoft has made progress with it on bargaining, it also said the one-day strike was a necessary step forward as its requests had gone unanswered. The union filed an unfair labor complaint against ZeniMax in October. Quote, "We respect our employees' rights to express their viewpoint as they have done today," unquote. Microsoft spokesperson Becca Doherty said in an emailed statement, quote, "We will continue to listen and address their concerns at the bargaining table," end quote. A day before the strike, Rihanna Eckner, quality assurance test lead who helps supervise employees who test Bethesda games for bugs, among other tasks, told Inverse she was excited and looking forward to the, quote, "fun event," end quote. "I know that sounds weird, but we're all really looking forward to coming together and spending time together," Eckner said. Everybody needs to understand that this needs to happen. This is what needs to be done to move on. We all are just kind of ready for it, end quote. The union is looking to limit the percentage of quality assurance testers the company outsources in comparison to the number of full-time workers present in a bargaining unit. It would not share details on whether Microsoft has chosen to outsource its labor or where Microsoft has chosen to outsource its labor to. The union is also seeking a more flexible remote work policy. ZeniMax workers are currently required to go to office twice a week, and many, the union says, are being denied their remote work requests. Eckner also said that the company has repeatedly ignored the union's remote work proposal. They have continually given us their first proposal again and again, and it's become obvious that our different mobilization tactics have not worked, Eckner said. Juniper Dowell, a senior quality assurance tester at Rockville, Maryland, said that several testers would be forced to move or find a new job if they had to come into the office all 5 days a week because they were hired during remote work years under different circumstances. Striking isn't fun or ideal, but there's satisfaction in having a concrete physical action we can do to fight for better work conditions, Dowell said. Hopefully, we can convince them to stop dragging their feet and meet us at the table, end quote. Cog, you sent this my way, so what are your thoughts on this strike from America's biggest video games union in Bethesda?
Yeah, this hits home for me. I give a shout out to the Bethesda game workers. This hits home on many levels. One, as a former Meta employee, I was 100% remote. I was hired in that capacity. Now, in defense of Meta, I remember when some of the edict went out that some people that were remote work or hybrid workers would be forced to come into the office. And, that was not met with a pleasant result. A lot of people sometimes were hired under full remote conditions, and they literally will not legit be able to come into the office every day. Thankfully, in my situation, I was not forced to come in. I remained my remote status. I was actually one of the sticking points before I got hired. I actually wouldn't even consider a relocation because I didn't want to work in Menlo Park, California. I just didn't want to do it. Right. I'm an East Coast guy. I didn't feel that job warranted me to make that type of life change. That wasn't the job that was going to do it. Not that I'm opposed to it, just that wasn't. So I got back to the table. I applied when the remote option was there, and I did it. The other reason why this hits home for me is part of my job as a platform lead and a metaverse integrity operations guy was dealing with QA. And QA is one of the most thankless jobs in the sense of hours upon hours of bug testing, fixing, making sure things work. And, you know, I have an appreciation for it because I actually started to do some of it. One of the reasons why I got promoted, like I would help the engineers, I would help the QA because I have a technical background. And I'm like, hey, the tooling you have is terrible. Let me see what I can do to help. Because there's nothing more frustrating as a person who's technical that I have hired people to work for me and they can't do their job because the tooling or whatever is getting in the way of the operation. So one of my projects was to do that. And QA loved me because they seen I had the appreciation from them. I understood with that. So to see QA be outsourced, to see workers, you know, not feeling appreciated and then being forced to potentially lose their job if they're forced to come in, that's tough, man. So one, yes, I appreciate that there is a union, you know, in this case, because I do think that video game developers need that type of protection, especially in a thankless business where there's not too many places you can go. You lose a job, it's only a couple of big cities and a lot of people ain't offering remote work. That's just the honest God truth about the video games industry. So I love that they did that. And I hope Microsoft will respond because this is important, man. We can't keep losing video game talent and without any other options for them to go. Because in a sense, they're kind of strong on. Think about it. If you want to stay in gaming, where are you going to go? You don't have many options. And that's why being in the games industry is it's a dream of mine, but it was always something I'm like, the volatility, how long, you know what I'm saying? It's not many places you could go. So I'm pulling for them. I'm hoping that this gets resolved. I want to shout Microsoft for at least having a union, allowing them to unionize, right? But now we got to get to the unwritten rules of the industry, which is all this contract work, all this outsourcing, you know what I mean? And to eliminate people who are going to have, you know, benefits and full-time job. That's another reason why people want to keep these jobs is the benefits, bro. Like benefits are so important, bro. Like you have no idea having that medical peace of mind and all that stuff. So I'm pulling for that. I'm going to be monitoring this situation very closely. And again, shout out to, you know, everyone at Bethesda who took a stand and was like, yo, we need to be valued. We're taking this strike day. What's up? And hopefully this gets people to come to the table and make conditions a bit more fair. So that's where I'm at. Again, just one that hit near and dear to me because I'm like, oh man, I've done every aspect of these jobs. So I kind of know what people are going through and I understand the whole remote work thing. So yeah.
Well said. Yeah, I'm more in the being educated seat. So I don't really have many thoughts on this that would add anything to the conversation, but it's good to see. And yeah, I agree that QA is definitely thankless work. Like
thankless, bro. Oh my God, the hours upon hours.
Yeah. Oof, just makes the games tick. Like, you know, it's not like building the actual story or anything, but it's making it all work so that it doesn't break while you're playing it. It's pretty important, all things considered, because they always say making a game is easy, but finishing a game is the tough part. So QA is a big part of that. All right. Well, we're done with the news, Cog. Last stretch here is the Game Pass pick of the week. First, we have Sean Santarud, who writes in saying, hey, Duke, surely it's an easy Game Pass pick of the week this week. It has to be Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Such great memories playing these games when I was young. What are the Duke's history with this series? And as we already answered, not much at all.
Not much.
So we allowed Sean to have his pick. Maybe y'all agree with it. But then I stepped in. I made the pick on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Let's go.
I've been playing some Dragon Age Origins, Cog.
You always do this. I love this. I love when you get frustrated where something's going and you go back to the essence.
It's a check yourself thing. Remember personal reflections. Like that was my constellation subject, right?
Yes.
And after that, I had to check myself. Like, is Maddie jaded? Is Maddie going wrong? Is he losing his character?
Getting hyperbolic.
You know, right? And I had to go back and check the essence of Dragon Age, right? With Origins. And, you know, we're not even talking about Veilguard. Just a fucking beautiful game, man. Like, if anyone knows what I'm talking about when they start up the game, this is like the best title menu theme ever. You know, that main theme for Origins is so... It might actually be, when I really think about it, like my favorite in gaming, because it's just so powerful and captivating, and you immediately know the vibe of the game, the atmosphere of the game. It's so epic and unique. I don't know, man. It just gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. It's the
top 5 title screen.
It gotta be, bro. It's like that. It's like that Kingdom Hearts effect where I sit at the title screen and I just listen for a little bit. Like I'm almost reluctant to start the game, even though I know what's on the other side of the loading screen is like amazing shit. I just want to listen to that title theme every time I fire the game up. So yeah, like if y'all need to be sold on the game, install, just sit at the start menu. Tell me how you fare. Tell me that you don't want to play that. It's really that good. And because again, it matches the game beautifully. But yeah, I went back to it because I had a save file running from May of this year. I picked it back up. I've been chipping through again because I couldn't help myself. I was like, I need this in my system. Like, okay, so not to get overly personal, but games are a big part of my healing process. And there are certain games that just through the power of nostalgia and through the power of good memories, like I need to reconnect with at times if I'm going through something and I just want to restore some happiness, some excitement, that sort of thing. Games have just always been that for me. And in particular, old BioWare games. So I really felt I needed this personally to just fire this up and sink my teeth into this world. And the dialogue is so good. Like you can be a psychopath in this game, a legit maniac. Like I was doing an evil playthrough and like the amount of people I'm just like, just pop in the collar, kill yourself. Like I just, the shit that you can do in this game, like whatever, man. I just love how evil you can get in this world. And like you could, there's like this one part with Liliana where like you're here with these ashes, the urn of sacred ashes, and you know she's just like, oh, this is like very sacred stuff, and you could just like break that shit, dump it on the floor, and she's like, how could you? And she goes to kill you, and I'm like, this is a main fucking party member, not for just this game, but like all the way into game 3, right? Granted, they don't acknowledge it in game 3 if you kill her, it doesn't. They just pretend that never happened.
The continuity for the future.
It's a big fuck up in Inquisition that they just like clearly were like, oops, didn't think of it. But it is again just a brilliant level of choice and consequence. Like you can kill your own party members. I mean, that's what BioWare in that era did so well that I loved. Is like I always think of Juhani in Knights of the Old Republic. Like you meet Juhani at the Grove, and as a kid, I remember killing her. And I get to the end of the game, and you see all the silhouettes for the party member. And I was missing 2. I was missing HK, who you can buy. I didn't know that at the time in my first playthrough. And I was missing Juhani because I thought she was just a quest. But it turns out I was like, oh, I can bring her to the light side. And then she joins your party and she's not missable. And it was just like, oh shit, you know, that was so cool. So the ability to kill your party members is like, I get it. It's like one of probably the hardest things to do as a writer. Cause you're like, a whole story changes.
Yes.
This individual is not here. This whole story changes. Interactions change. Optional moments change. Like everything changes, especially because Juhani's like an early game character. Liliana, when you can kill her, pretty early game, all things considered. So I just love how psychopathic you can be in this game. It's great. It's great to have that. It's so tantalizingly powerful in the game that you kind of get you get paralyzed because you're just like, there's so many options at my fingertips. What do I want to do? And I just like, I don't know, man. Like I ooze and gush over these dialogue options. Combat's hard as fuck though. I get my ass whooped in this game sometimes. Like there is that early game curve where like, especially when you're in Lothering, like some of those early fights, like they send a lot of darkspawn at you, a lot of the wolves at you. It's tough, but once you get out of that and you start building your character some more, like it really is an evolved version of KOTOR's combat. And it's, yeah, man, like this game's so many memories baked into it. And like one of these years, I just want to go through Maddie's memory tour and just like replay in full all these extremely impactful games that I loved growing up, right? And just bask in them again in my adulthood. Because like playing this, I'm like, I know I won't finish this because there is so much. Like I'm thinking about Death Stranding, and I'm thinking about Metaphor, of course, and I'm thinking about Arkham Shadow, which I want to try. Like there's so much new stuff. Like one of these years, I just gotta turn the lights off, just go for it. But yeah, I just want to shout out Dragon Age Origins. You know, I've seen a lot of people when I reviewed Veilguard, people saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna go try Origins," and whether it's in response to that or not doesn't matter. If you've not played this is one of gaming's greatest RPGs. Culture war controversy aside, like none of that shit matters right now. Dragon Age Origins is a must-play RPG, and if you really love choice and consequence at the center of your experience, please go and play this game. It is brilliant on that level. The music's wonderful. It has some of gaming's most iconic characters: Alistair, Morgan, Liliana, Just that is a trio among trios, man. And this is like your opening roster. And there's other great ones in there that I'll leave for you to discover. But they have also underrated DLC where you like Liliana's song, where you get to actually like see her backstory, which is the only character that gets that. Morgan, though, the way she's the best moments of Veilguard, in my opinion. Morgan's continuation character is phenomenal. There's just a lot there, man, in Origins. It is a top RPG ever. Ridiculously good. So please check it out. Play its DLC if you missed it. I haven't played Awakening yet, but play its DLC. It's really fantastic stuff. So that is my Game Pass pick of the week.
I like that. Good timing. And then also looking at the technical aspect, FPS boost, it seems, right?
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, FPS boost. So yeah, if you're on Xbox, load screens are way better. I didn't experience that much with Origins because I didn't play it on my 360. Or I'm sorry, I didn't play on my 360 at the time. I played on my PS3, but I didn't play it on my Xbox Series X. I did play with Dragon Age 2 though when I did my replay of that 3 years ago. And yeah, dude, it's a huge difference in frame rate. It's a huge difference in load times though. A lot of these BioWare games have bad load times, but with Series X back compat and FPS boost, it's like done in a snap. And it's probably the best place to play it because PC version does crash a decent amount. So granted, I was playing on the EA launcher side of things. I should go over to Good Old Games now and buy a copy there.
OG. You know? The OG, baby.
The OG, preserved forever. So
shout out to that FPS, that frame boost, though. I definitely love seeing that. Yep, it's on the list. Looking at it right now. And Origin, 60. And Inquisition, all of them, 60, 60, 60. Every Dragon Age game.
Huge, though. Yeah, it is a good place to start. And you could, I do think Origins, one of the best things about it is, I remember when I finished it when I was much younger, I didn't really feel like it needed another entry. Like, I thought that was just it. I love 2. I really do. And Inquisition, I love elements of. It is a series you can get into for the long haul if you want to, although, we know how it ends. But I will say that Origins, if you just wanted to do like, I want to experience this and just this, it ends in it has a great finality. You can play it and drop it, I think, if you really want to save yourself from long-term investment and that sort of shit. And this is when BioWare was making like 30-hour RPGs that you could play and replay. And so it's not going to take up too much of your game clock. So check it out if you have yet to. It's really a special video game, as are many pre-2014 BioWare games.
Yes, sir.
All right, Cog. Well, that's it for us. It's time to wrap it up. An almost 4-hour show.
I know. We had so much news. It was crazy after the last couple of weeks we've had.
Yeah, we really didn't spare any detail on any of these subjects. Normally, sometimes we're like, all right, we'll wrap it up a little bit quicker. But this one, we just had a lot to say. So, sir, what is the hashtag this week? What are we thinking? We had a lot going on here with the world of Xbox and exclusivity. I feel like you gotta be someone with the red line, right?
Yo, I was thinking the same. Yeah, I was like, red line. I was like, if he doesn't say it, I'm thinking DD, red line, DD. Right? One of the two. Yep.
All right. Red line DD is going to be the hashtag this week, ladies and gentlemen. If you got this far into the episode, first off, thank you for listening. We know this is one of our longer ones to wrap up the year. Probably up until the Game Awards, it'll be our longest episode for a while. So we hope you enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in. Again, hashtag RedlineDD. I'm at G7Status on Twitter. Cog is at Lord Cognito. You can tag us there. Let us know your thoughts. Otherwise, if you don't want to use social media, that's cool. Use the comment section down below. Again, hashtag RedlineDD. Leave your comment. Leave your thoughts. Just awesome to hear from all of you. So please fire away. And Cog, any closing words before we wrap this up?
Yeah, a lot of news, man. A lot of like breaking stuff. I felt we got lucky this time, right? We missed one with the Stranding thing.
Don't speak too soon. Now that I think about it.
That's not speak too soon. Because the Xbox will do something tomorrow. We're like, man. So again, so far so good. Just a jam-packed week. Great discussion, great topics, very stuff. And yeah, I like this one. It was just so much to go on this week. It was a lot going on.
100%. So awesome job to you, sir. Awesome job to Xbox providing us all this news. Awesome job to the audience getting through this. And we'll catch you all next week with episode 203 of Defining Duke, a Xbox podcast. Until then, take great care of yourselves and peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Maddie's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Dukes executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.